progress.
You'll sympathise, Craig. You've had most injuries, including that one, I think. But Hearts miss Paul sparing his blushes when he's not around.
Yeah, and if Paul's saying he hasn't done any pre-season training whatsoever, then you're going to. I mean, it takes weeks to get your fitness again. I mean, it's not a case of the ground's okay, I'm just going to go back into training and I'm going to play on the Saturday. It doesn't happen like that. So they are missing him. They will be playing with two defensive midfielders in there. So that threat from midfield has been negated, really. So they've got to get some sort of threat from other areas of the pitch, from the left, from the right, and obviously from the two strikers.
Are you surprised that Hearts haven't splashed out some more money? They've brought in plenty of players, but not one that would really compare to what Paul does.
Well, I'm surprised by the noises coming out of Hearts from the chairman and one or two other people about where they're going to go, where they're going to take this club, and really they haven't strengthened at all. I don't think they've brought in 2 or 3 players, but to me so far they haven't strengthened the first 11. They were 20 points off the pace last season. If they're going to make that gap up, then they're going to have to go and buy better quality than they have been doing.
We shouldn't be surprised about surprises here because they tend to come along fairly regularly, and I think we'll get a couple in the team selection when we see it later on, Paul, with both fullbacks, first choice fullbacks left out today. Why?
Good question. I think we maybe be looking at the game on Wednesday night against Athens, which is such important to the club, and hopefully if we could get through that it'll mean a lot of money to the club. But I think over the last few seasons our back four has been the strongest part of our team, and to take 2 experienced fullbacks out it then, I mean, hopefully we can get the right result today. But we've got Ibrahim Tal and Lee Wallace coming in, but as you say, the back four have always been the strongest part of Hearts' team.
It's a great game in prospect. We'll talk more about it, obviously, but the live action is only available to Setanta Sports subscribers. If you haven't signed up with us, there's still time to do so. Pressing the red button on your remote lets you subscribe. You can do it online by going to www.setanta.com, or you can phone us on 08700 50 69 70. Now a chance to see all 5 of the SPL games played yesterday. The goals from those coming up. And first stop, an amazing match at Ibrox. I guess the clever money said Rangers would run all over Dundee United, but that's not the way it turned out, despite Rangers having lots of chances early on. And this was Charlie Adams, so impressive on opening weekend, Craig, defied here. And this was the story of it for Rangers for a lot of the game. Well,
he had a fantastic first game of the season at Motherwell last week, man of the match, and rightly so, and proved that he was a good player. But that was as if the way it was going for Rangers yesterday. But you've got to give credit to Dundee United. I mean, there was a lot written about them in the papers last week after their opening defeat at home to Falkirk. Pressure.
Noel Hunt.
It was a great turn. I mean, it was a fantastic turn, and just the sort of start Craig Brewster would be looking for, to go to Ibrox, to build a bit of confidence. Svensson doesn't do particularly well at all, the new centre-back for Rangers, and they're 1-0 down. Yeah, well, he was eventually hooked as well. This was Derek Stilley to the rescue for Dundee United. Libor Sionko pretty much picking up where he left off last weekend, looking very sharp, comes in off the right-hand side, lots of efforts at goal, and that will produce a pretty much instinctive one-handed stop from Derek Stilley. And then this next passage of play, Paul, I know that you're seeing this for the first time, underlines what Rangers were all about. Again, like last weekend, creating lots of chances and foiled twice here by the woodwork.
Yeah, they look like they pass it very well under Paul Le Guen. Created a lot of chances last week. They just don't seem to be putting the ball in the back of the net. Maybe they're missing Chris Boyd, who would probably said last week would maybe score 2 or 3 goals. And
he came on later. That was Sionko and then Rodriguez, both denied by the frame of the goal, and then Dado Prusho with another effort. Amazingly, this one stays out as well, knocked off the line by United. You have to pay tribute, I guess, to some gutsy defending, which kept them in touch, and they were as well creating some chances of their own. Colin Samuel with the setup, Stuart Duft as well, and it's Hunt's effort that this time is hacked off the Rangers goal line as United try to get themselves 2 goals up. They did eventually stretch their advantage, and this was Christian Calvanes.
Well, those were good chances, Rob, for United, but I mean, that's just shambolic marking. I mean, look at the space and the time. It's a good ball in from Robson. He's got good pace in the corner, but it's what, 6 yards out, 7 yards out, nobody's picking him up, and it's a free header.
What made a difference for Rangers was Chris Burke, as ever, on the pitch, and he was barely on the pitch when he got that goal back.
Yeah, he did that last season. He had a great end to the season. He's got great quick feet. It's a fantastic finish on his weaker side, and still he's no chance right into the corner.
What maybe lifted the Rangers fans as well was the first sight of another new signing. Philippe Sibo signed eventually from Austria Vienna, but there was one bizarre moment to come, and this was Stephen Robb, who will long remember this for all the wrong reasons. An own goal right on time with Dundee United 2-1 ahead.
Well, you know, as a player, we've all made mistakes, but you know, when you're under the sort of pressure Dundee United are under in terms of the criticism they've had, it was a coup and buster, because everybody expected them to get a bit of a hammering at Ibrox yesterday. They went there, they were 2-1 up, 10 minutes to go, long diagonal ball. You just clear it, you know, just get it out of the park. Don't try anything fancy. He's tried to be too clever, and it's cost him 2 points, and it's cost him a victory, which would have been, you know, 2-2 is good for the confidence, but a victory would have been great.
Maybe that's about communication as well, Paul, isn't it? Because he's just at the club, Stephen Robb. He's getting used to his new teammates, and maybe they're just a mix-up communications-wise.
Yeah, I'm not too sure, because Derek still is coming out to try and get the ball. I don't know if he's gave him a shout, and it's just a bad mistake. But as Craig said, they've had a lot of criticism over the past week, Dundee United, but to go to Ibrox and be 2-0 up, I mean, they'll be really disappointed to come away with that with a point.
But it doesn't matter if you're at a new team, if you're at an old team. It doesn't matter. That's elementary, it's basic, you know, it's basic stuff. We said last week when we were watching Celtic against Kilmarnock about Gary Caldwell just doing the simple things at the back. We know he likes to play out of defence, and he almost cost him with a couple of mistakes. From that point of view, defending there, 10 minutes to go, don't try and head it back to your goalkeeper. Get it cleared up the field, get it put out for a throw-in, and then regroup. He tried to be a little bit too smart, and he paid the penalty. I bet, but I'll tell you one thing, he won't do it again.
What Paul Le Guen, I don't think we'll be too worried about is further forward. Yes, Rangers missed chances yesterday and last week, but those they'll eventually take their chances. Well, I think what really concerns them is defensively, because Svensson, I think, was faulted for both those goals. He presumably was the man intended to pick up Calvanes for the United second. He was at fault for the first, and he was hooked in the second half, and that's an area that he desperately needs to strengthen.
I think both Old Firm teams have got their problems in defence, and we'll talk about Celtic in a bit, but going back to Rangers, they are creating chances. They did it Motherwell, they did yesterday. We've seen that in the VT there, where they were a little bit unlucky. You've got to give credit to Dundee United as well. But defensively they have got problems as well, and they're going to have to show that up, because you can all have all the good attacking play you want, but if you don't defend properly, then when you come against the better sides, then you're going to lose. There's no doubt about it.
Hibs don't have a problem creating chances either, but they went down to defeat yesterday at Rugby Park, having drawn at home to Aberdeen on the opening weekend. This was Dean Shiels, scored against Aberdeen, scored again here, and he has got a goal touch, and that was a good start for Hibs.
Yeah, it was a good ball with Michael Stewart there, just threaded it through. And pleased for Dean Shiels. He's had a lot of problems over the last year, and it just shows he's come back to form. But I think Hibs will be missing O'Connor and Riordan. They take 40 goals a season out of a team, then they're going to struggle, Craig.
And that was a cheeky little finish as well, wasn't it? I mean, it's a fantastic little finish, but you know, Kilmarnock are made of sterner stuff these days, and you know, they had a decent 20 minutes at Celtic Park last week when they played some decent football. That's a fantastic ball in, and Colin Nish 6 yards out, not getting picked up, and it's in the back of the net. And as I say, you know, Jim Jeffries doing a good job down there, but Hibs are a decent side, so you know,
they lost Smith and Caldwell at the back, which takes a bit of replacing.
Well, it takes money, doesn't it? So it's like they haven't got it, and he's brought in the lad from Grimsby, big tall lad, 6'7". But you know, they've just got to do the basics properly. But as I say, Jim Jeffries will be expecting to win this game, and Stephen Naismith, who proved last year he was a fantastic player, looks as if he's up for this season again.
If you haven't seen this already, enjoy this goal. It's been compared, maybe slightly over the top fashion, with Ryan Giggs and that amazing effort of his a few years back. It was a fantastic run. Tony Mowbray will be wanting to nail some of these people up against the wall for the defending, but it was, attack-wise, fantastic goal, Paul.
Yeah, it was. Just picks the ball out wide, and he's got great feet, Stephen Naismith. I don't think he'll be at Kilmarnock too long. I think he's that good. He can play at a much higher level. He's got an eye for goal when you look at there, but I don't think Tony Mowbray will be pretty happy with his defending there, but you've got to give credit to Stephen Naismith. It's a great finish.
I think when Tony Mowbray looks at the video there, I mean, I don't know how Hibs played yesterday. I don't know how they played. I don't know how the game went. I wasn't at that particular match. But when you've got three defenders, when he runs that far, I think you're entitled to expect somebody to put a challenge in. And for all the good skill and the good feet from Stephen Naismith, with the time and the space he had, and how tight the defenders got to him in the box, I'm expecting somebody to make a challenge. If they didn't, and they paid the penalty for it.
And I think Paul makes a good point as well about Stephen Naismith, because Kilmarnock, I think, cleverly have got him on an extended deal, so if he does move, they will get some money for him. But 19, lots of promise, lots of confidence, lots of ability.
He's went from on buttons to being on extra buttons, because I mean they can't pay the money down there, and it's a simple fact of life. And if they get a bid for the lad, will Jim be able to hold on to him? But he scored a great goal at Celtic Park last week. It was a consolation goal, but it was a good finish. He's a good prospect. Jim will be hoping he can hold on to him, but if he keeps putting in performances like he did last season, and like he has done in the first 2 games of this season, then it's going to be difficult for them to keep him.
Aberdeen having escaped with a draw from Easter Road last weekend. Jimmy Calderwood almost on a theft charge then. Hibs created so many opportunities. Got themselves ahead, the home team, yesterday against Inverness. Good build-up here, good finish, Stevie Crawford.
Yeah, good pass through, and I'm really pleased for Stevie Crawford. He went through a tough time last year. But this year he's got 2 in 2 games and a really composed finish. But I think the problem with Aberdeen last season was they drew too many games at Pittodrie.
And that could find them out again if they keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, what we're going to get from Aberdeen this season, we don't know. Jimmy's first season, they, I think, overachieved, and they haven't really replaced too many players this summer. And
right, stand by for a goalkeeper howler. Jimmy Langfield will be in hiding, I would think, at this point. He's bounced that off Richie Burns back in the end, and Barry Wilson can't believe it as he taps it in.
Well, it's not one for your video collection, is it? But I mean, he's a good goalkeeper, Jamie Langfield, and since he's been at Aberdeen, you know, I can't really remember him making any mistakes. But you know, you've just got to hold your hands up there. I mean, it's a poor error, and I mean, it's handed on a plate. He's not going to miss from there. And it'll be interesting to see how Jimmy views this. He knows the lad's made a mistake. What's he going to do? Is he going to leave him on the side? Is he going to drop him? You know, he can be a bit hasty in these things. I don't think over the piece of his time at the club, he's done a great deal wrong. He's made a mistake there, but that happens.
Until then, it could have been an opening point at Easter Road, followed by a home win at Pittodrie, 4 points out of 6. Aberdeen quite happy. But now, as you say, there's the nagging doubt that they're going to be drawing too many games at home again. Yeah,
that was the last minute, I know, that Inverness scored, so it'll be really disappointing. I know what Jimmy's like in the touchline. But as Craig said, Jamie Langfield's did fantastic since he's come in, but it's always worse when it's a goalkeeper making a mistake. Everybody views it as bad.
Yeah, because players make mistakes during the 90 minutes all over the place. Goalkeeper makes one mistake in the back of the net, and everybody sees it for what it is, a real blunder. But I'm just a bit concerned about Aberdeen in terms of, you know, who Jimmy's been able to bring in, the budget up there, and how far they're moving on. I just don't see any real quality coming in, because he's not been allowed, like many clubs in the SPL outside probably Hearts, Celtic and Rangers, haven't got the budget to go out and strengthen.
This was the game that Craig and I were at yesterday. Guess who are top of the SPL? They finished top of the First Division last season. What a start for Gus McPherson and his team. 2-0 winners yesterday against Motherwell, deservedly so. This was goal number 1. Good play from Stuart Keane, good touch, good turn, and on a plate for John Sutton, although as we reflect on this, I think Paul Quinn, Craig, got the final touch on this, although it's always going to be Sutton's goal, and of course his own goal was to follow as well, so he got 2 of them.
Well, he didn't have a great day, Paul Quinn. In fact, Motherwell didn't have a great day, but I was impressed with St Mirren. First time I've seen them in the flesh. I went along to see them to have a look at the players, pretty much unknown. This is the corner kick, Kevin McGowan heads it on, it's not going in, and I just don't know what he's doing. I don't know, he's headed it in, and it was a great finish from him, but I mean, Maurice Malpass was on the bench and just couldn't believe it. But I mean, you've got to give credit to St Mirren. I was impressed with them yesterday, Rob. They played 3-5-2, they were solid. The players didn't look as if they were in awe of being in the SPL. They outplayed Motherwell at times, they were tigerish in midfield.
And here's a good example, Paul, of what they were about yesterday. Neat stuff, good passing, good movement off the ball, and a decent effort from Gary Brady.
Yeah, I think I've probably took that one from last season, but I think the key for St Mirren is that the 2 front lads, Keane and Sutton. I think they've got it's a good combination there.
Stuart Keane was sharp yesterday, and Gary Brady having a shot here. He's been at Tottenham, he's been at Newcastle, he's been at Dundee. He's a good player, and I was impressed with him, as I said. I mean, if you look at a benchmark of Livingston last year, 9 points out of 27 games, and they went down, never recovered. Gus McPherson, St Mirren, 6 points out of 2 games. Now there's a long way to go, but the most important thing when you start the SPL, when you've just came up from the league below and you haven't got the money to spend, it's got off to a good start. 1, to get the points, and 2, to get the confidence, and I think St Mirren are going to be in for the fight.
Well, already they're 6 points ahead of both Dunfermline and Motherwell, and that takes a bit of eating back for struggling teams.
I was looking at that. I think it's important if St Mirren are to stay up that they win their home games, but they've got that cushion already over Dunfermline, who a lot of people are tipping to be relegated in Motherwell. So I mean, I think Gus will be delighted with his
start.
And
they've got a system. It's 3-5-2. I mean, he might change it during the year, he may change that, I don't know. But I tell you what, they don't have to work hard. And the one thing we noticed yesterday, and I don't want to harp on about Livingston, but you go to Livingston and there's not many supporters. There was a good atmosphere at St Mirren yesterday.
It's a good football place,
it wasn't
isn't
a massive crowd, but it was a good football place. It was a good atmosphere, and sometimes that goes through to the players as well, and it gives the players a lift. And I think that's coming out, and it's been a great start for them. But there's a hell of a long way to go.
You would have got some bet on St Mirren and Falkirk to be joint leaders of the SPL at any stage of the season, even though it is just a couple of weeks in. Well done to Falkirk. They struggled so much last season to win at home. Doesn't seem to be too much of a problem. They've won their first home game in the SPL, and it was Darren Barr, young defender, getting his big chance and taking it.
Yeah, but great delivery again from Russell Latapi. I think he's going to be a big player for Falkirk this season if they do pretty well. Yeah, but a great header.
Every set piece is in delivery. You know, last week, Rangers against Motherwell, if you watched the game, it was the Charlie Adam ball in for Dada Puzzle on a sixpence from Nakamura, free kick from last week against Kilmarnock, Celtic Kilmarnock, top corner. Set pieces are so important. If the delivery's right from corners, then it's very difficult to defend. You can work on it all week in the training field, but if that ball comes in with pace into the right areas, it's very difficult, and that's what happened there for the Falkirk goal.
A lot of good youngsters in that Falkirk team, Paul. Players coming through the system that John is rearing himself effectively, John Hughes, and also guys he's picked up, youngsters from elsewhere, Patrick Craig, Liam Craig.
The thing is, they've not got any money to spend, so they're going to rely on their youth, but I still think they do need a bit of experience, and that's where Russell comes in, because I think he's
been magnificent so far.
He's got fantastic abilities. He's not got the legs, but he's got vision. And
well, they're in good company if they've got no money to spend, because the rest of them above them have got no money to spend either. So it's just a battle about bringing through kids, bargain basements, maybe going down to England in the lower leagues, finding some players, lower leagues in Scotland, trying to get some players in and not much money on peanuts, and trying to get them to do the job. It's not easy, but they go into management and they know what it's all about. Out with the top three, there is not a bean to spend in Scottish football at the moment.
And again, as Craig says, that's a result for Falkirk. It just takes a little bit of heat off early on, gives them points on the board right from the start. Do not adjust your set. This is the Bank of Scotland Premier League table on the second weekend, with one game, of course, still to play. St Mirren, 6 out of 6 after promotion from the First Division. 4 goals scored in the process. Falkirk, maximum points as well. Rangers dropped 2 yesterday at Ibrox against Dundee United, and that 2-2 draw, 4 for them. Celtic and Hearts play here today at Tynecastle. Kilmarnock on 3, having beaten Hibs. Good win for them yesterday. Aberdeen 2 draws so far. Dundee United will be happy with that solitary point. They'll have boosted their hopes with the result and performance at Ibrox. Hibs disappointed to be on only 1 point from their opening couple. Inverness on 1 as well. Dunfermline still pointless. And there's a big surprise, even just after a couple of games. No points so far for Morris Malpass and Motherwell. The live matches, Hearts against Celtic, of course, and these are the teams. Hearts making a couple of surprises. Robbie Nielsen and Takis Fisas, both fullbacks rested. Nielsen is on the bench, and Darius Chesnauskas is left on the bench as well. Those are the 3 changes from the midweek team. So Ibrahim Tal will play at right back. Lee Wallace, the 18-year-old, back from success with Scotland's under-19s, he's at left back. Presley and Berra in the middle in front of Craig Gordon. Midfield 4, Michael Eunice, Brellier, Aguiar and McCann up front. Pospisil and Bednar. So that's Hearts, and this is the Celtic side today. Just the one change from the team which lined up last weekend. Paul Telfer is fit again. He returns at right back, and that means Mark Wilson switches to the left side and Mo Camara drops out. And the big talking point arising from that, obviously, is that skipper Neil Lennon starts the match on the bench. It's the same front 6 as last weekend. So Bodditt's in goal, Telfer, Caldwell, McManus and Wilson. Midfield 4, Nakamura, Yarashik, Petrov and McGeady. And up front, Kenny Miller and Maciej Zurawski. So we've spoken already about Hearts. We'll speak more, obviously, about the Tynecastle team. But there's a talking point right away for you. We saw him coming off the team bus, not looking charmed at all about Gordon Strachan's team selection. Neil Lennon not in the side. He starts on the bench this afternoon as Celtic go with that central midfield combination, Craig, of Yarashik and Petrov.
Well, any player with anything about him is not happy when he's left out the side. But you know, they performed so well last week going forward. From midfield 4 to these 2 strikers, the movement was excellent, and Yarashik and Petrov alternated the runs in there, one sitting, one going. Yarashik got his goal. Petrov's a top player, as we know. So it was a it must have been a difficult decision for Gordon Strachan, but because he is the captain. But you know, you've got to give the players credit. They went out last week, they performed, and he's kept that same side in terms of going forward. And I think they're very, very potent in the final third. There's no doubt about that.
It strikes me, Paul, that's a very positive message from Gordon Strachan, basically saying, I don't need a holding midfielder. I think that the combination I've got will be able to get back and get up the pitch as well.
Yeah, I think they look more at a goal threat with Jarosek and Petrov. The two of them like to bomb forward, which might cause our back four a bit of a problem today, because it's usually Petrov bombing forward with Lennon sitting. So I don't think he could have changed the winning team from last week, because they played ever so well. So I know Neil Lennon will be disappointed, but I don't think he could have changed it.
What I liked about Jarosek last week was during the game he was playing the sort of holding role there, and he didn't really go forward. He just sat in, he let Petrov run, and then all of a sudden he picked his moment. You know, when they came with a bit of surprise, he hadn't been going forward, then he burst into the box, ball in from Zarafsky was a good one, and there was your midfielder getting in. The element of surprise is what they needed, and that's what they got. Just
a quick thought, Craig, before we hear from Valdas Ivanauskas. Positive message from Gordon Strachan. He's gone with that very attacking front six on the team. Is it a negative message from Hearts in that they've rested a couple of fullbacks, presumably reckoning that the European match in midweek is more important than here today?
I'm a wee bit disappointed, but I mean, it's got the makings of a cracking match, and it still has, but I think Hearts have been weakened by the players that they've left out. You know, you set your own house in order, and how they see it is obviously Champions League Wednesday. I'm disappointed because so early in the season, young fit guys had a good pre-season. You know, they're only the second game into the season, certainly in the SPL. I know they've played a couple of qualifiers, but tiredness doesn't come into it, and I think it's taken a little bit of edge off it so far. But you know, they're decent players to come in, so you know, if they can beat Celtic today with a weakened side, then that's going to give them a lot of confidence as well.
OK, let's get the official line now from Valdas. Pre-match with Stuart Lovell.
Valdas, Robbie Nielsen and Takas Fisas don't start the game today. Why is that?
You know, it's after Champions League game, any players is small tired, so we need rest for the players.
You beat Celtic 3-0 here in April. Can you do that again?
I know it was last season. Today's other game. Today's first game at Tynecastle, and today's first game for home game. So we tried to train.
You arrived back in Edinburgh on Thursday morning, 6 a.m. I think, after travelling back from Bosnia. Could your players be tired for today's game, do you think?
Oh, you know, yes. It was a long trip. It was no easy trip, but okay. We got 3 days for the next game, and I think the players are ready.
Do you prepare your team any different when you play Celtic? In training, do you do anything different? Do you do a different defence or attack?
We know Celtic. We know Celtic very, very well, and it's a good team. Respect for Celtic. He has new players in the team, but for us, now our target is win the game.
Which of Celtic's players are most dangerous to you?
It's a good team. It's a good team with Celtic, and any players from Celtic is danger, no? But we have also big quality. So and this is difficult to explain now which is danger, but we're looking just for our team.
And which match is more important to you, today or next week against AEK Athens?
Today, you know, it's second game in championship, so and we're thinking just about Celtic, and after game think about the end.
Thanks for talking to us. Good luck today.
Thank you very much.
Well, we did get one smile out of him. That's not too bad. Valdas Ivanauskas, the Hearts head coach, ahead of the match. It's interesting to look at how Celtic, Paul, have changed under Gordon Strachan since Martin O'Neill went. They're a different type of team now. They're much more emphasis on pace, less on physique. And when you look at the two sides, Hearts are not a team that are going to be pushed around by Celtic, I wouldn't have thought.
I don't think so. In the past, I think you used to stand in a tunnel and look at Celtic's height. But now it's different. They like to play the ball on the ground a lot more. But I think if we have to win the game today, I think we've got a really good chance at set pieces. If we can get good delivery into the box, then we've got a better height advantage over Celtic.
But look at that, no Varga, Paul's talking about in the turn, the physical side of Celtic. No Varga, no Baldy, no Sutton, no Hartson. all guys over 6 foot, big physical players. So that side of the game has gone. What they've replaced it with is some slick movement. Nakamura, Magiri, runners from midfield, no big strikers up front. So they've got great movement up front. The movement at the front two last week of Żurawski and Kenny Miller. Oh, Kenny Miller didn't get on the score sheet. Żurawski got 2 goals. Their movement was excellent, and that's going to cause Presley and Berra some problems today, I would imagine.
Gordon Strachan wasn't too happy with the shadow side in Japan during the week, but this is back to the serious stuff. Let's hear from him pre-match with Stuart.
Gordon, I imagine it's never easy to leave your captain on the bench. What was your thinking behind that?
It's never easy to leave anybody who's good and talented and dedicated. It's quite simple. Like Lenny was suspended for last week. The team played very well, and I've decided to go with the same team again. Huge disappointment for anybody left out, but that's the game.
When you won here in January, it was a pivotal moment in the title race last season. Is this game as important today?
I'll tell you at the end of the season. It might mean nothing, it might mean a lot, but it means what it means today is to win the game today, and it means that there's an opportunity to show with some new players again that we can stand up to the challenge, and Hearts will be a huge challenge. So we look forward to challenges. If you come to Celtic, you have to face challenges on and off the pitch.
I guess last week's performance against Kilmarnock must have given you confidence that you can come here and win.
Yeah, after a decent performance last week. Yeah, and Kilmarnock went on to beat Hibs yesterday, so it was a good performance last week. So we feel good about the performance last week. We built up that performance, and with some exceptional performances today. I don't know if the game of football will be as good today, because it's I think it'll be more intense, the game, tighter playing surface. So I don't know if the game will be as good, but I hope it's as exciting.
Do you pay much attention to other teams' results on a Saturday when you're playing on a Sunday?
Only the game I watched yesterday, St Mirren and Motherwell. I watched that. It's my purpose is to go and see St Mirren, because that's my job, to do everything as well as I can, because we play them next week. And I've seen a buoyant St Mirren who are happy with life in the Premiership, and we have to be at our best next week. But my job yesterday was to see them.
Have you been surprised by some of the results in the SPL this season? Because we've got Falkirk and St Mirren at the top.
Fantastic. I like the 2 lads. I like them. I think they're the go-ahead lads with good ideas, and they're brave. And John, as he sticks to his formation, it's a brave way of playing. And I'm glad to see people are fortune favours the brave. So the 2 boys have been brave in the way they've set their teams up. So I'm delighted for them.
Gordon, you said after the friendly in Japan that the nucleus of players you can rely on isn't big enough for a club like Celtic. Can you change that?
I have to change it. If we want to be successful on all fronts, we have to change it. So people get chances again. We have to promote younger guys from even the youth team, or bring new faces in. But it has to be done. So we can't rely on the same 13, 14. That is unfair. That shouldn't happen at championship winning sides.
Gordon, thanks for talking to us. Good luck today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Decent interview, I thought. 3 ways to subscribe to Setanta Sports, and that's the only way, of course, you'll watch today's live match. You can do so by pressing the red button on your remote. You can log on to setanta.com, or on the telephone it's 08700 50 69 70. We'll be talking to 2 of today's key players shortly. Celtic defender Mark Wilson, who will surely be a Scotland player of the near future, there with a Scotland player-ish of the distant past. And another rising star among the men in maroon talks to Stuart Lovell. Christophe Berra of Hearts getting better by the moment. We'll hear from him next. It's not just the talk of the town, it's Scottish football game of the season so far. OK, it's only the second weekend, but Hearts against Celtic here at Tynecastle could give us a strong pointer as to who will set the early SPL pace. Watch it live here on Setanta Sports. And the live football continues later on with Marseille at Sedan. French action from 4:30. And a treat in store for you tomorrow. If you've heard the Real Radio phone-in, you'll know what to expect. If you haven't, it's well worth lending an ear. And worryingly, you'll be able to see host Ewan Cameron and former Scotland goalkeeper Alan Rough as well. Sorry about that bit. On Thursday night, we're live at Fir Park, Motherwell, as Gretna play their first ever European tie. What a story that is. Scottish Cup finalists last season Then in the third qualifying round of the UEFA Cup, they face Derry in Motherwell. Watch it with us from 7:30. But the main event this afternoon is in Gorgie, in Edinburgh, at Tynecastle. And it matters so much for these Hearts supporters that their team sets the tone right from the start against last season's champions, Hearts against Celtic. It's live. Hearts and Celtic had one win each year last season, a home win at the end of April after the championship had been settled, and an amazing comeback by Celtic here to turn around the game on New Year's Day.
Jankowskis in the middle, that's for Jankowskis. 1-0 to Hearts. Racing up, 2-0 to Hearts. Stephen Presley. Celtic are back in the match. Isas is in trouble here. What's the colour of the card? He was the last man. Tension around Tynecastle among these Hearts supporters. Celtic have won in the most dramatic fashion. It's on goal! Stephen McManus! The Hearts are the lead. That's Hartley! 2-0 to Hearts! Hearts have won comprehensively by 3-0 for Valdas Ivanauskas. It's a perfect afternoon.
The departure of Andy Webster from Hearts has opened the first-team door for 21-year-old Christophe Berra, although Ibrahim Tal, new boy Christos Karapidis and Jose Goncalves, when he's fit, might have something to say about that. But Berra hopes that place alongside skipper Stephen Presley can be his after a decent run of top-team games.
I think that's just down to hard work and training and playing games, just trying to improve and work on my weaknesses. And to the end of last season I played a few games and I've done well, and I think the manager's seen what I'm capable of, and hopefully he'll keep faith in me.
And people have talked about you replacing Andy Webster. Was he a good role model for you?
Yeah, when maybe he was at the club he'd done remarkably well, and obviously he's probably moving on to bigger and better things maybe, and I wish him all the best, but hopefully it's my time now and I can become a regular for Hearts.
And now you've forged a steady partnership with Stephen Presley. What have you learned from playing alongside him?
As I say, Elvis is a very experienced guy. During games and that, he'll sometimes give you a kick up the backside, but most of the things he tells you is trying to help you and improve you as a player. And I say a great deal of what he says to me has helped me improve as a player, and I thank him a lot for that.
The competition for places is tough as ever at Hearts. Can it affect your performances when you know there's 2 or 3 players ready to take your place?
I think it makes me want to prove to the people more that I'm capable of keeping this place, and it's great for in every position at Hearts there's players that are, if your performances drop, that you're going to get put out of the team, so you know that somebody's going to step in if you're not performing week in, week out, and I think that helps me as a player to keep my standards high, and hopefully I can do that for as long as possible.
You recently signed a new 5-year contract with Hearts. What sort of security does that mean to you?
Well, obviously 5 years, it gives me a lot of security. I can settle in, but as I say, I'm not the person who'll slack off because I've got 5 years. I want to prove to the coaches and the fans and the players that I'm capable of playing week in, week out here, and I want to improve as a player and get into the next level.
Is it difficult to maintain a good team spirit with so many language barriers to overcome?
We've got a really great team spirit and everybody can have a laugh and a joke, and I think it's good for the club, but as well we need to keep the Scottish influence of players in the dressing room as well, and I think we're doing that. There's a lot of good young players at the club, and hopefully they'll start coming through in the next couple of seasons.
And last season must have exceeded all expectations for everyone at the club. Is it realistic to think you can do that again?
Yeah, obviously we've got a really good and big squad, and hopefully we'll probably maybe bring in a couple more players. Not for sure, I don't know for sure, but hopefully. And I think we want to do, as we're all players and we're all winners, and we want to do one better than last season, and obviously we want to finish first and win the Scottish Cup again, and obviously there's a big game coming up on Wednesday as well. We want to get into the Champions League group stages, but we know it's going to be difficult, but our main aim first is to beat Celtic on Sunday at Tynecastle.
Even this early in the season, is this a key match for Hearts?
yeah, every game's a key match, especially against Old Firm and Celtic. They won the league last season, and people are saying they've not had a great pre-season, but as you've seen against Kilmarnock, they won 4-1, so pre-season doesn't really matter, and we'll have to be on the top of our game to beat them, and hopefully come quarter to 4 or 5 on Sunday, we'll be leaving with 3 points.
A lot of competition for places in the middle of the Hearts back four, despite the departure of Andy Webster. Still hasn't got a new club, Andy, but he won't be back here, I think we're safe to say. Tal can play in there, Goncalves, when he's fit. The new Greek player, Karipides, could be in there as well. But Christophe, Paul has done well.
I think he's came of age this season. He's got a run of games. In the 3 games he's played, he's probably been our best player, best defender. I mean, he's really quick for a centre-back, and he's very strong. And I think he's learning well off Elvis, who'll teach him through the games, but I think it's maybe benefited him with Andy leaving and getting that run of games that he needed.
And you want a partnership, Craig, don't you? You want a bit of continuity in there if you can in central defence.
Well, I mean, it's been, apart from the goals they got from midfield last season, Hearts has been, one of the strong points, the back four, the goalkeeper. There comes a stage in your career where you don't want to be that bit part player anymore. You want to be playing regular, and the imminent departure of Webster looks as if it's going to give this lad a chance. He's had a great start to the season, but he's going to have a tough test today, because as I said earlier, the movement of Żurawski and Miller and the pace and the runners from midfield, he's going to be tested today, there's no doubt about that.
Where will the spark come from for Hearts today, if it's not to be from the man sitting beside me, unless he at the last minute slaps his boots on? Neil McCann is well capable. It's interestingly his first game for Hearts at Tynecastle since he played and scored a last minute winner against Dunfermline in November 1998. This will trigger some memories for him. He's capable, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's still got a little bit of pace in his game, Neil, and he's still capable. The one problem he's got, he's came off a really bad injury again, so he's still chasing his match sharpness a little bit. While he's still a good player, can he produce the 16 or so goals, whatever it was exactly, that Scatchell scored last year from that position? That's a big ask. So they've lost that out the side, so Neil's going to have to come up with a really good season for them. He's still capable of doing that, and he's got the experience, and as I say, he's maybe lost a little bit of pace, but he's still a relatively quick player.
This game will fire him up, Paul.
Yeah, I think he might take a bit of abuse from the Celtic fans today, and I think Neil will thrive in that. But I've watched him over the last 3 games, and I've spoke to him, and I just feel that he's maybe playing further back the park, and he's not getting up the park where he can deliver. So I think
crossing from too deep.
Yeah, I think he is. I think he's doing all his best work back the park, and I spoke to him about that, and I think with Lee Wallace playing there today, I think that maybe if he plays up the park a bit further, then he can go and create something for us. And I mean, on his game he's as good as Andy.
Julien Brellier is the holding midfield man. It looked at the tail end of last season as if he may be fading out of the picture. He was arrested in that legendary phase towards the tail end, but he's so important, and he's going to be crucial today, I would have thought, Paul, with both Jarosik and Petrov bursting from central midfield.
Yeah, he plays such a great role for us. He protects the back four. I mean, he's that holding player. You see, I think he'll have his work cut out today with Jarosik and Petrov bombing forward, but he does that job ever so well. He's probably the best in the SPL at it, and but he can play a bit too.
But you've talked already, Craig, about your concerns about the balance in that central midfield area.
Well, there is no balance. They just got 2 home players in it. And we talk about Julien Brellier. I don't know why the Romanovs have got a bee in their bonnet about this lad, because, he's not going to play a defence split and pass, but you watch him today. He pops up in little positions where he's tidying up. Midfield runners going, he'll be picking them up. He'll be watching as the game's progressing in front of him. He'll be watching what's round about him to see who he's going to pick up, where's the danger, watching the game, reading the game, and that's what he does good at. So I don't know why upstairs and from above the manager they've got a bee in their bonnet, but they seem to have about the lad. But all he's got to do, just go out, play as he does. As Paul said, he's got a tough task today because he's got Petrov and Jarosik in there. So he's going to have a busy afternoon, but he's key. If he's a good game, he picks up the runners, then Hearts are going to have a chance.
That's Hearts. Let's talk about Celtic. In terms of value for money, Gordon Strachan might never make many better signings than Mark Wilson. He cost us a few £100,000 from Dundee United and looks assured in either of the full-back positions, left side today. He's been telling Scott Booth what it's like to be a first-team regular.
Surprised that I've actually played as many games as I have, to be honest. I thought I'd come here and maybe be a bit part player last season and maybe get a few run-outs maybe when the season was over, but I was a bit fortunate to get in the side when I did with a few injuries, and you know, the team did well in those games, and the manager kept the same team, so I was fortunate that way. And obviously I've just tried to continue my progress and try and keep in the team this season, and hopefully I can keep my place for Sunday's game.
Yeah, you want to keep your place as well for Champions League football, don't you?
Definitely. I mean, it's probably the biggest stage you can play on. Club football is, you know, is at its highest level at that stage, and you're playing against the best players in the world. So hopefully to play against the players, it will obviously improve me as a player, and hopefully I can stay in the team for these games.
How's it been so far? Because the pre-season hasn't been the greatest, but for you personally?
I mean, I think it's been great for me personally, going to these different countries and playing in some fantastic stadiums against quality players has been great, and also we've had the chance to take in some beautiful cities on the way. You know, cities that I probably wouldn't go to. You know, Washington, Boston, New York, and it's been great. The results haven't been great, but I mean, I felt I've got the fitness I wanted out of the pre-season, out of the trip, and you know, I think it's set us up nicely for the league.
Did you watch the Yokohama game?
I watched it, from my couch, yeah.
Was it worth watching it?
I mean, it's a hard one. I mean, the club went there and I mean, they gave it their best shot, obviously, and maybe the boys were a wee bit tired, but again, it was another fantastic trip for. I wouldn't have minded going, you know, see another great city, and you know, you're travelling first class, and I'd imagine it would have been a great trip, but apart from the result, it was a wee bit disappointing with that.
So all in all, do you think that kind of trip is worth the risk for the club when, you know, it can be so financially lucrative for them?
Well, there's been so much made out of the amount of money that the club's made out of it, so that's worthwhile. But I mean, the guys that maybe played in the game who hadn't been playing for a while, so it's worthwhile for them. And as I said, it's not as if it's a long way to go, but they were travelling, you know, the best they could travel with the first class in the bed. So I don't think it would have been too bad, no.
And last week against Kilmarnock, of course, blew the sort of pre-season out of the water, didn't it?
I mean, there was a lot of criticism coming into the game about how we hadn't scored enough goals, and rightly so, because we'd only scored 2. So I think it was important for us to come into the game and show what we could do, create a lot of chances, you know, play high-tempo football, and we scored a lot of goals, which kind of shut the critics up a bit. I think if we went out there and won 1-0 or 2-1, I think people would still be in our backs a bit, but we put on a fairly convincing show that day.
What are your thoughts on the new players? Have they settled well?
Definitely, they've come in and they've done fantastic. Played well, played in nearly all the games, and I mean, there's a good Scottish, you know, core to the team, and the boys have come in and they've slotted in well with the rest of the Scottish boys, and the likes of Evander and Yeri, the foreign boys, have come in, and you know, everybody's made to feel welcome. They've done fantastic in the games.
Weekend, it's not really a must-win game for Celtic, is it? For Hearts this early in the season, it is a must-win game for them. At home against Celtic? Well,
at home against Celtic, obviously Hearts will be wanting to show this season that they're challengers and try and progress in what they did last season. And to do that, they'll be coming at us, you know, right from the start. And obviously they'll be trying their best to take the 3 points, as you say, at home, and try and get a wee run together as soon as they can at the start of the season, and that obviously means beating us.
Now, it wouldn't be good for your old ticker, but would you hope for an action replay of the New Year's Day game where you beat them there, and I think that sort of kicked off your championship run?
It was a fantastic game. I obviously wasn't at the club, but I was watching it. Just obviously to go there. If we win 3-2, we'll take it, because obviously we're coming away with 3 points. But it'd be nice to go there and keep a clean sheet and snatch a couple of goals early on.
And that one, of course, would send out a signal to the rest of the teams, wouldn't it?
Definitely, because Tynecastle's a hard place to go to. Always been hard for me personally with Dundee United and with Celtic. I've not been too successful there, so hopefully I can start with a win on Sunday.
A year ago today, he was part of the Dundee United team, which lost 2-0 at Celtic Park. Now he's very much part of the fixtures and fittings with the champions. He looks like he's always been there in a way, Paul.
Yeah, he's did very well. I mean, I think he came as a right back, and he's played most of his football at left back for Celtic, but
looks all right there, doesn't he?
Yeah, he looks so comfortable, and he's two-footed. So, I mean, I think that's been a problem area for Celtic. Is that left back area? You know, they've been on the market for a few players, but I think he's did really well since he's been in there.
Do you like him, Craig?
I mean, I was unsure when he came from Dundee United, but I've been really impressed with the lad, the way he's handled himself. You know, it's not easy coming into a big club You know, the pressure's on you week in, week out. I thought Mo Kamara did actually okay last week in the game against Kilmarnock, but finds himself out the team. But it's testament to the lad that he's brought in as a right back, and he comfortably slots into the left back position. What he's not going to do from left back, he's not going to run down the wing and whip balls in, because it's not natural. But I mean, he's relatively composed, and he's been a good signing for them when you consider what they paid for him, Rob. His versatility. He's been a good player, but I mean, the back four in general just worries me from Celtic. I mean, everybody's speaking about they haven't scored goals this season, or in pre-season the goals are a big worry, but it's defensively, and Mark Wilson's not done much wrong. When they go to the Champions League, that back four concerns me. I don't think they're going to go anywhere in the Champions League with that back four. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I think, you know, unless they strengthen that area, they're going to go absolutely nowhere in the European Cup.
So he'll play for Celtic. He won't. On the bench, the captain, Neil Lennon. I think a lot of people were just making that automatic assumption that he would be recalled to the captain's armband and to central midfield after suspension last weekend. But Gordon Strachan is presumably making some sort of statement today.
It just shows he's not scared to leave out his captain. I'd have been disappointed if they'd won 4-1 last week and then get dropped the following week. So I'm sure Neil will be really disappointed, but I think you've got to stick with the same players that won last week.
They were very pacey, weren't they, midfield to front?
If you look at it logically, you know, looking at Gordon Strachan, looking at the Tigers, looking at the Hearts side, Paul's not playing, they've got no real runner from midfield, so they've got two sitting midfielders in there, so they don't really need a holding midfielder, because I don't think there's going to be much coming from the Hearts central midfield. I think all Hearts attacks are going to come from a wide area, so Gordon Strachan's taken a decision to go with the players that he had last week, and that means Neil Lennon finds himself on the bench. Now, that may change in the process of the match, but I think if you look at the context of the way Hearts have lined up, then he feels comfortable going with the two midfielders that he knows are going to get forward, Janisic and Petrov.
Maciej Zagorowski has started this season, though he finished the last one with goals, a couple already on opening weekend. And when you look at the stats, it's 22 Celtic goals for him already in 31 appearances.
It's a great record. He's got really good movement. I think with him and Kenny up front, they pose real problems for any defence, but they can finish. And people say that Celtic would miss John Hartson, but if you've got a goal scorer like Zagorowski, then you might not miss him too much.
He's a big threat, isn't he, with Kenny Miller? Lots of pace.
Right. I mean, just quickly, there's one word from him. He's clinical. He is very clinical. Given half a chance, he sticks it in the back of the net. Hey, that's what he gets paid for.
Fancy Hearts against Celtic today, or who do you going for?
I'm really unsure how to call this one, and I really am. I think Hearts have been weakened by the two players they've left out, the two full-backs. And I just wonder how Hearts are going to cope with the movement of Zagorowski and Miller. If they can handle that and get some sort of support from midfield, from Mikalunas and from McCann, from Widers, if they can supply the strikers, then they're going to have half a chance. But it's pretty even Stevens, I have to say. So far it's going to be a good benchmark.
Are you hopeful, Paul, for your team today?
I can't see us getting beat today. I'm very confident. We've got a great set of lads in there. We're undefeated from the start of the season, so I don't see us getting beat.
Well, Hearts fans will be happy to see this man, won't they? Former Hibs, former Celtic, former Scotland. John Collins is at Tynecastle to watch the big match. And so are these two. Top of the SPL, Gus McPherson and St Mirren. 6 points out of 6 for him. And the same goes for Yogi's Bairns. Falkirk are up there as well. What a great start for that pair in your ever unpredictable SPL. What are we about to get here today from match of the weekend? Hearts against Celtic, your commentary team, Scott Booth and Ian Crocker.
Thank you, Rob. Well, it is one of the key games of the Scottish season. It comes in just the second week of the season. Neither set of fans really know quite what to expect today. What do you expect, Scott?
Well, we know for a start we expect 100% commitment from both teams today. I think both teams will be coming here to win the game, to take 3 points. And I think there's an intense rivalry now been built up between the two clubs. Obviously, after last season, they were the two best teams in the SPL last season. And I think the New Year's Day game here, where Celtic came and stole the points, I think Hearts will be looking towards that and thinking, let's get some revenge here on home soil.
Well, Tynecastle is bursting with energy and expectation. And Hearts make 3 changes from their European trip. Ibrahim Tal is preferred to Robbie Nilsson at right back, and young Lee Wallace comes in at left back with Takis Fisas rested. Mikalunas replaces fellow countryman Chesnauskis after a bad injury. Neil McCann finally gets to play at Tynecastle 8 months after rejoining Hearts, but Paul Hartley is still sorely missed and Egaris Jankauskis is also sidelined.
Yes, Ian, it'll be Hearts' usual 4-4-2 formation today. Stephen Presley, the only one of a back four that's been featured constantly, consistently last season. Brelly and Aguiar in midfield, that will be the first point of Hearts' defence, with Brelly sitting that little bit deeper than Aguiar. And up front, Bednar and Postmaso, well, they'll be looking to bustle their way to success today after scoring starts last week.
Celtic make just the one change from the side that beat Kilmarnock, but again Paul Telfer comes in for Mo Kamara, with Mark Wilson moving across to left back. So there's no place for skipper Neil Lennon, suspended last week, sub this week. Kenny Miller has recovered from a niggly hamstring that meant he didn't see any action in Japan. Nagini and Nakamura, of course, started against Yokohama.
Yeah, again a 4-4-2 formation up against Hearts 4-4-2. As you said already, Wilson, it won't be a problem for him to switch across to left back. Of course, no Lennon, but it's Petrov and Jarosik in midfield, and they'll offer variation in attack going forward. Zurawski and Miller, well, pace and movement all over the place with them, and that may be the only way to open up a Hearts watertight defence.
Paul Le Guen's Rangers were held to a surprise draw by Dundee United at Ibrox yesterday, giving Hearts or Celtic a chance to open a gap already. And the Scotland manager Walter Smith is also here. He has a get-together later this month of his international players. Celtic sporting their new away kit. So the top two from last season meet early this season in a showdown to savour at Tynecastle. It's Hearts, it's Celtic, it's next.
Hearts against Celtic, always compulsive viewing. Here we go with Scott Booth and Ian Crocker.
East meets West, Edinburgh meets Glasgow, the runners-up meet the champions, and this compact stadium is just perfect for a match like this. Its steep stands make it feel like everyone's right on top of the action, and there should be action aplenty today. Paul Telfer back in the Celtic side after injury, and Celtic's new away kit on show. Mikalunas for Ibrahim Tal, preferred to Robbie Nilsson in that right back role, and looking to make an impact straight away. Aldous Ivanauskas, confirmed as Hearts head coach in the summer after a caretaker spell last season, and his team have got a corner off Jarosik.
Yeah, it's a good start for Hearts. Tal will be hoping that he continues as he started there, coming up on the right-hand side and getting the corner for Hearts.
The trusty left foot of Neil McCann will whip this in. It was cleared by Jarosik. Nakamura trying to help it on its way, and Celtic have a free kick. A change of referee for today's game. By the way, it was supposed to be Kenny Clark, but he's injured, so Stuart Dougal is in charge. Paul Strachan is in charge of Celtic. He won 2 out of 3 domestic trophies in his first season, including, of course, a 40th league title for Celtic. Kenny Miller rising with Stephen Presley, his international teammate. Wilson goes back to McManus, who scored those 2 goals here on New Year's Day that made such a difference in the race for the title last season.
Already, and you see there Petrov making a run forward, not being picked up. That's going to be interesting today to see how Aguiar and Brelly do pick up the runs of Petrov and, of course, Jarosik.
There is a cracking atmosphere at Tynecastle, but then there usually is. Aguiar's cross. Oh, Bednar had a swing at it, and it eluded McCann too.
Yeah, Hearts have started well, just couldn't connect there.
Well, these two teams produced some enthralling encounters last season, and there is every reason going to expect more of the same this time around. Wesley, Bearer, Brelier, McCann, one back by Nakamura. Now Kenny Miller, who began his career in the city of Edinburgh with Hibs. Nakamura. Mark Wilson's in a bit of space, just here. Yaraship. He scored on his SPL debut against Kilmarnock. And you can see him getting quite a few for Celtic bursting into the box.
He definitely offers a great deal of height in there, but also movement, timing of the run as we saw last week. As we say, when you have Jarosik in there and Petrov, it causes a problem.
Aguiar seeking out Bednar. Pospisil is the only man in the middle at the moment, and Bednar's not going to find his fellow Czech like that.
But already as Bednar plays the ball in there, you see McCann getting in at the back post, and that's going to be really important for Hearts today. That either midfield player from the wide position gets themselves into the box, because both Bednar and Pospisil are willing runners.
Mikalunis referred to Chesnauskis. Wallace in towards Pospisil.
The Hearts do have a physical element to their game, with Bednar and Pospisil up front, already showing that.
Here's Neil McCann, and must have been pretty watered in that part of the pitch. Celtic came from 2-0 down to win 3-2 here on New Year's Day last season. That opened up a 7-point gap at the top. Hearts never really recovered, and Celtic clinched the title in early April with another win over the Jambos.
I think that was the turning point of last season for both clubs, but I think it's obviously too early in the season to be talking about turning points at the moment. But both clubs will want to maintain their winning start to the season, and it's always going to be now a big game between these two clubs.
Hearts and Celtic looking to make it 2 wins out of 2. Only 2 clubs have managed that so far in the SPL, St Mirren and Falkirk, as we all thought. Bednar losing out to Caldwell. Certainly the watering of the pitch there has left it heavy. McCann's cross in towards Pospisil. Corner.
Yeah, the ball just gets caught up there. McCann takes advantage, tries to get the early ball in. It's a good ball, just too far past the front post and trying to flick it on.
Bruno Aguiar with the corner, a bit too long though. Hearts desperate to get Paul Hartley, their main influence, back in their team ASAP.
Yeah, he's absolutely vital for them, vital for Valdas there as well, Ivanauskas. He want Paul Hartley back as quickly as possible. He gives you the drive and the pace in midfield, and he chalks up 1 or 2 goals as well, and he's not too bad looking, so I've heard.
Oh yeah.
I think that's going to be the interesting thing for me today, is the 2 sitting midfield players of Hearts. They're going to cause problems for Celtic when they're going forward.
Here's Bednar causing a problem at the moment himself. Petrov and Telfer deciding what to do. That's gone out off Lee Wallace, preferred to Takis Pisas. Vargas ain't a happy man. Yarashik, Nakamura. Now Celtic getting into their stride, apart from the return from Zaraski.
Yeah, we're saying it's going to be difficult for Celtic to combat the two sitting midfield players. They offer a lot different a prospect compared to last week against Kilmarnock.
McCann won it back off Nakamura. Pospisil though loses out to his fellow countryman Yarashik. Magidi, who played a good 70 minutes or so in Japan on Thursday. Wilson taking over, but can't find a way past Ibrahim Tal. Already this season has played at centre-half, right back and in midfield. Senegalese international. Tal again. McManus should have this covered. Bednar closing in on Boritz. Zaraski chasing. Christophe Berra's gone with him and will marshal it behind. He got a bit of a whack as well. But a good start to the season, Christophe Berra.
Yeah, I think he looks like a very, very good player. It's not too bad when you can come in and play alongside Stephen Presley, but he has looked assured since the start of the season.
The skipper on the bench for Celtic today. An unusual experience for him. Bobo Balde sidelined at the moment for Celtic, but he was in the dressing room pre-match with his teammates. Caldwell for Nakamura. Caldwell, jeered by the Hearts fans, former captain of Hibs, wouldn't you just know?
You can see in that when Celtic do have possession, both McGeady and Nakamura are tucking in, I think, to leave the spaces in the channels for the movement of Zaraski and Miller up front, which was so effective last week.
Celtic put their pre-season woes behind them with a 4-1 win over Kilmarnock on the opening weekend. Hearts won 2-1 at Dunfermline. Kenny Miller getting involved with Grelier. Both these sides hoping to lay down some early season markers and signal their intent.
It's quite surprising though, Ian, with all the players that Hearts have brought to this team, that when Paul Hartley is out, there's no direct replacement for him.
Christophe Berra hoisting that high into the sky. There are some sticky areas of the pitch. They were watering it quite a bit in the build-up to kick-off, and there were a couple of holes in the hose as well that they let out to the centre circle, so some parts of the surface very watery at the mo. think with the money they've got, they could afford a new hose. Boruc, the keeper, will come and take this.
With 30 minutes gone, neither of the sides have managed to create a real decent chance yet. I think they're just, at the moment, sizing each other up a little bit. I think that obviously the two front men for each club are going to be very, very important today to try and get on the ball and help the team push up as much as possible.
Magidi. He's got a free kick as Brillier dived in. And Stuart Dougal wants a word with Brillier. Maybe a card, in fact. Yep.
Yeah, Brillier just timed that one wrong. That is his job, that's what he's there to do, to break up the Celtic attack. But that's not too good so early in the game to pick up a yellow card for Brillier. He does now. He's living in the edge a little bit because, as I say, he's the guy, the first line of attack for Hearts, and he'll be doing that all game, and now he'll be very, very careful.
Well, Stephen McManus scored twice in that 3-2 win here on New Year's Day. Nakamura floats it in. Now Gary Caldwell was the nearest Celtic man to it.
Yeah, it's all about the delivery here. It's a great ball into a very, very good area, and Caldwell just getting caught in front of the ball. I think that's going to be important today for Celtic, with such a strong Hearts defence, that they can use Nakamura and Petrov from dead ball situations.
Christoph Berra commanding. Nakamura, fancy footwork to skip away from McCann. And he's picked out Magidi effortlessly. Wilson. Magidi, stumbling. Aguiar needs assistance from Presley. McManus with a foul on Bednar.
You can see there, when the Celtic attack broke down, Aguiar picks the ball up, there's no one to play it to, no one who then can provide the drive in there or the vision in there, and that may cause a problem for Hearts today.
Bruno Aguiar then with this free kick. And Ibrahim Tal only scores at Murrayfield, he does. Ten Scots on show for Walter Smith to watch, by the side. He won a few caps in his time. Strachan. Pospisil just veered away from Mikalunas, although Pospisil not giving it up, and a foul by Jarosik right in front of the ref. And the Hearts fans felt that Jarosik should have got the same treatment as Brilliant.
Unlucky there, he takes the ball.
Lee Wallace will be 19 later this month, just agreed a 5-year deal with Hearts amid rumours of interest from Dundee United. Saraski rising with Berra. McCann. Off Nakamura. Aguiar will leave it for Wallace. Tal. Mikalunas. We are challenged by Yarashik. Petrov. Kenny Miller. Once at hips. Hearts fans never likely to forget that. Nagini's cross. Always going behind Miller.
Yeah, you can already see the difficulty for Celtic against a Hearts side with the best defence last season.
Quick free kick. Yarashik, Petrov. Nice idea by Petrov. Good handball shot against Zaraski. It's not going to matter anyway because Telfer's cross goes behind, but Craig Gordon furious that there was no decision given. The handball against the Polish striker.
Yeah, I think he just uses his arm a little bit there. It's a good shout from the Hearts players. But it's been difficult to break down this Hearts defence, and it's a real problem. The only way you can do it really is get in behind them or try and thread some passes through to the quick men up front.
Bednar won it, and they are splashing in puddles on this side of the pitch after that leaking hosepipe. It's a shove on Bednar. Free kick Hearts.
It's an area that normally Celtic don't have any problems in, but with now a lack of real physique in there, it can cause a problem.
Presley and Berra joining the throng. Aguiar delivers, and it's Bednar's header, just wide.
Yeah, it's a fantastic ball in. That's what I mean. Players like Bednar and Pospisil desperate to get on the end of it. Tal as well has some height in there. And at the heart of the Celtic defence, they do lack that physical element.
Drelier's mistake has given Nagini a chance. Presley will turn it away to Tal. Offside Bednar. Aldous Ivanauskas was a powerful striker in his day, played in Germany for Hamburg.
I guess maybe why he likes the combination of Bednar and Pospisil up there. They do tend to try and bustle their way to success.
Manas. Christoph Berra watching that all the way. Kept in by McCann, but it bounced off Pospisil. Yarashik. Not too much on that.
It's quite tough there for the Hearts central midfield. You see Aguiar trying to get close to Jarosik there, but because his starting position is so deep, he's giving the Celtic midfield player 2 or 3 yards of space, and as the game opens up towards the second half of this game, that might prove vital for Celtic.
Celtic automatically in the Champions League this season. Hearts hoping to join them there, but first they must get past AK Athens. Nakamura. Wilson. Now McGeady. Petrov. Nakamura. And spraying some neat passes around now, Celtic. Nakamura into the path of Wilson. Yarashit. Nakamura's lost it this time to Aguiar and to Mikalunis here, but Yarashit got to block it. Remember, you can choose your man of the match today by ringing the appropriate number on your screen there, and if your choice is the same as Scott Booth's and you're picked out, you'll win a signed shirt from the man of the match himself.
Yeah, I think that's certainly causing a problem there. Janisic getting on the ball far too easily. Aguiar again can't get close to him. I think Nakamura's had a great start to the game. He's on the ball, doesn't lose the ball very easily, but he also has great vision and a delicate touch.
Wallace. Well, Hearts did beat Celtic here towards the end of last season 3-0, but the championship had already been won by then. It was a result that certainly aided Valdis Ivanauskis' side, though, in their quest to finish as runners-up. Tal. No foul, but Tal has stayed down. McGeady's lost it anyway. Oh, they're not kicking the ball out yet. No foul on Telfer from Bednar. Tal is still down injured, but here's McCann. And McManus having to steer it away.
Well, you can see how eager Hearts are to try and win this game. Didn't even kick the ball out when one of their own men is lying on the floor there. Rarely had the chance to kick the ball out. Opted for a switch of play. A slight twist of the ankle, I think, there. Again, it shows the eagerness of Hearts to try and get forward.
Yes, his teammates weren't about to stop. Sorry, Ibrahim, we're on our way towards goal. And he does need some treatment, and it doesn't really look that good for Ibrahim Tal. They do have Robbie Nelson on the bench, of course.
Looks like he's just caught his ankle there and twisted his knee. Never looks good when you have to go off on a stretcher.
So concern here for Valdis Ivanauskis. Ibrahim Tal had scored in both Hearts matches at Murrayfield, and Robbie Nelson is going to have to come on. No doubt a bit miffed at being left out of the starting lineup today, but he's coming on to make a significant contribution.
Absolutely, I don't think he was too happy about being taken off in midweek.
In comes the corner, and Bednar's header doesn't find a way to go.
Was Bednar again causing the problems for Celtic? He actually had a lot more time there than he thought he did. We expect him to do a lot better than that.
A rousing reception for Robbie Nelson as he takes the place of Ibrahim Tal. You do worry whether that might be a twist or even maybe ligament damage for the Senegalese international.
I didn't quite understand the thinking of dropping both fullbacks. Normally a midfield player would be rested, but to drop both fullbacks I think is a strange one.
That's a foul by Caldwell on Bednar. There's Hearts up the ante here with a free kick.
Yeah, it's a poor tackle from Caldwell. All he has to do there is stand up and be strong.
And Bednar needed in there, along with Presley and Bearer. Bruno Aguiar, though, is going to go for goal and wasn't too close to it.
No, I think that's far too ambitious.
French football continues today at 4:30 on Satana Sports 1 with Sedan against Marseille and Gretna against Derry City. Gretna in Europe. You can see them at Fir Park Thursday 7:30. Satanta Sports 1. Christophe underneath that. McGeady now for Wilson. Manis up towards Zeraski. Petrov latches onto it. And Nakamura's going to get a corner off Wallace. Hope here for Celtic. Well, Hearts certainly know about the threat Stephen McManus could provide in these situations. Wearing the captain's armband again today with Neil Lennon on the bench. Nakamura delivers, and it was Yuri Yarashik with the flick on.
Yeah, I just wonder if it's an area that Gordon Strachan has been looking at last week. Hearts lost a bad goal from a corner, which they lost the first header. And then Aguiar knocks the ball into his own goal. So maybe Gordon Strachan does think there's a slight weakness in there for cross balls.
Well, Hearts certainly offering more in the way of attempts on goal in this first half. McGeady is trickled out. Mikalunas will leave it for the newly arrived Nilsson, who has potential for a long one. Nilsson really launched it and McManus met it. Could be more of the same here though. Close protection at the moment over there. Robbie Nilsson. Think of a throw. Wallace. Caldwell challenges Pospisil. It's bobbled off Nakamura. Brilliant.
The last time round, Aguiar elected to shoot. I don't think that's going to happen this time.
Response on there. Aguiar doesn't clear the first hurdle, which was Telfer. Nilsson. Over towards Mikalunas. Up against McGeady. Did well, Mikalunas. A little better than Brellier did there. Here's Petrov, and Stuart Dougal needs to work on his touch a bit. McCann. That's Boris's ball.
Yeah, Hearts have had some really good opportunities to get good quality ball in the box. I'm sure even Iskis is upset because the quality of the passing in the final third hasn't been the best. And again, we'll probably hark back this a number of times in this game, but with the lack of Paul Hartley, that type of ball that we've seen from Aguiar isn't working. And Hartley, of course, a master at free kicks.
Brilliant. Petrov. Aguiar trying to rescue it. It's Nakamura. Wayward.
It's the first real chance Celtic have had to really go at the heart of the Tynecastle defence. We just screwed that one left there, but I think that it's important that when Celtic do go forward, they don't always look to try and go too centrally. Zeraski made a very good run wide on the left-hand side. and Miller, of course, always living on the edge.
We do hear from the dressing rooms that Ibrahim Tal has knee ligament damage. Just as Hearts were building up their squad nicely. Caldwell skipping away from Bednar.
And that will be a blow for Hearts, because they do want to double up all over the pitch, especially with the thought of getting into the Champions League. But they do have Thiago Costa, they've just signed, that can also play in that right back berth.
There's Wallace. Foul by Miller. Miller had a bit to say about it.
I think a little bit of frustration there, Ian, that he's not managed to get himself into the game yet.
Another free kick then for Bruno Aguiar. And again it's cleared by Telfer. Just like the last one was, I believe. Mikalunas. Brellier. He's very animated there, Valdes Ivanauskas. Pospisil will be more animated if something comes of this, but McCann's cross is collected by Bollocks.
Up to this point, Hearts definitely have had the better of the match. Been impressed by the way that they've circulated the ball wide. They've got into good areas, but just, as I said already, the final pass.
Petrov, who you would presume might well be a target for Aston Villa now. .50 on possession. Nakamura catching out Hearts. Brellier recovered though.
Well, Brellier recovering from his own mistake there. A very slack pass. It was back to the Celtic players. I think Gordon Strachan will be upset that he didn't get more out of that.
McManus. Telfer. Yaraship. Craig Gordon, Scotland's #1 and the Football Writers' Player of the Year last season. An outstanding goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's a pretty daunting prospect to get past Aguiar and Brellier and then the back four of Hearts, and then you have him to face.
McManus clattering into Bednar. And Stuart Dougal wants a word. Stephen McManus, who didn't make the Scotland get-together later this month. Presley. Trying to find his fellow centre-half. But here's McCann. Nobody really with him there. And Nakamura has won it back. Nakamura's going to get a free kick now.
Yeah, McCann was looking for a little bit of support there. There was no one with real desire to get behind him and support him. Nakamura doing a good job in defence, as both he and McGeady will have to do today.
Well, to select your man of the match later, ring one of those numbers, and if your choice agrees with Scott's, you'll end up winning a signed shirt if you're picked out as the winner. Nakamura for Yaroshin. Petrov is hobbling at the moment. McManus. Petrov struggling for Celtic. Wallace sets up Gordon for a clearance. No, he doesn't look too comfortable, Stilian Petrov. Still at Celtic, despite all the speculation and reported interest from down south. But will he be at Celtic for that much longer? Will he be taking part in this game for that much longer?
Yeah, it looks like he's just taken a kick on the knee, either that or a slight twist. I'm sure he'll give another 5 minutes or so until half-time.
Wilson. McGeady chasing this.
Be interesting to see if the boys in the studio think that Kenny Miller is 100% fit today. It's been a little bit quiet today, and I think at times it's looked like he has been controlling his sprint action. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but they certainly don't want to lose him at this stage in the season.
Caldwell won that. Wallace preferred to Fisas at left back. Here's Brellier. Nielsen, who's come on to the injured Tal, who not only has knee ligament damage but also an ankle problem as well. We now hear. Mikalunas. McGeady with a chance to have a run. Held up temporarily by Brellier. Here's Zuraski. Telfer arrives on the scene. McGeady lets it go to Kenny Miller. Gordon makes the save.
Yeah, it was a good effort from Kenny Miller. Celtic on the counter-attack. It was a little step over from Zurowski. Kenny Miller trying to get that ball curled round the back corner of Craig Gordon, but I think it was a warning from Mikalunas. He had good possession up near the Celtic box and gave it away far too easily, and then Celtic go and attack and get a real chance.
Zuraski. Telfer. Telfer certainly gave Petrov a problem. And Celtic could have more problems here. Mikalunas for Pospisil. McCann forced to go rather wider than he would have wished. But he has got support this time from Lee Wallace. It's bounced off Yarosik, but it comes to Brellier, and McManus charged out to clear.
Again, in the same problem, the final pass. Hearts get themselves into a very good area.
McGeady. I think Stuart Dougal was about to blow for a Celtic free kick there, but let it go. Well, there's a Hearts man down there in Brellier. He's had to stop it.
Yeah, this is nothing new to Brellier, but just getting caught there with the left elbow from McGeady. A little bit cheeky, I think.
Gordon Strachan and John McGlynn and Gary Pendry all getting involved, and Stuart Dougal's going to be called over here to sort it out. John McGlynn with plenty to say. Presumably it was that incident involving Brellier that certainly got John McGlynn like that. Callum Murray, the fourth official today, explaining what went on. It was certainly quite a spat. Ironically, Strachan and even Ascot have been having a smile a moment ago, but Gordon Strachan now has been ordered off, and so too John McGlynn, and it all boils over on the touchline as McGlynn and Strachan are ordered upstairs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sad, Ian. I think that this is the highlight of a first half we were hoping so much from.
Well, they might need separating on the walk up the stairs. John McGlynn and Gordon Strachan. Brellier's okay anyway. Can't imagine there'll be too many spare seats upstairs either. Somebody might get booted out. Last minute of what has been a right old scrap, really, between the top two teams from last season. I don't think Messrs McGlynn and Strachan will bother going upstairs just yet with half-time approaching. But they have both been ordered out of the dugout.
I think it's a game that's never really got going. I think that even Ascot will be the most disappointed that he hasn't got more out of the situations that they've created in this game.
And Celtic have a free kick on the stroke of half-time. 2 minutes to be added on. We're in them now. This will be some time to score for Celtic. Nakamura standing over it. What can Celtic offer here? Nakamura delivers and Stephen Presley on the end of it.
That's a big header. Last thing that Hearts will want to do is to lose a goal at this stage in the first half.
Wilson. Telfer's going to have a lash. Caught it well enough. But always going wide. And the man who played for Gordon Strachan at Coventry, at Southampton, and now at Celtic. Stuart Dougal's got the whistle in his mouth. Ready to blow any second, but maybe time for Hearts. Hands cross is cleared. Well, it has been a largely scrappy affair. Stuart Dougal's been kept busy, mind you. Hearts have looked the more likely, although only just. And Gordon Strachan and John McGlynn have been sent from the dugout. We'll hear what Paul Hartley and Craig Burley think of it next with Rob. 0-0 at the break.
Hearts 0, Celtic 0 at Tynecastle, and this lot on the way. Marseille at Sedan today as the French League gets underway again. You can see that live from 4:30 Setanta Sports 1. Tomorrow, if you've heard it, you'll know what to expect. If you haven't, you're in for a treat. The Real Radio phone-in is on television tomorrow from 6. And tomorrow night, between 8 and 10, a look back at the big issues of the second weekend of the SPL season. Joining me in the studio, Jim Duffy and St Mirren manager Gus McPherson. If this were to end in a draw here today, St Mirren will stay top of the league along with Falkirk. Thursday night, European football comes to Fir Park, Motherwell, and it's Gretna making their UEFA Cup debut in the third round qualifiers against Derry City. That's Setanta Sports 1, 7:30. Well, it has been compelling, hasn't it, in terms of a contest between Hearts and Celtic. We ain't seen much football so far, that's for sure, and probably the highlight, entertainment-wise, of the first half was this technical area dust-up between, Gordon Strachan and John McGlynn were the two who were eventually sent down the tunnel, and Strachan, at half-time, is currently asking Stuart Dougal why.
I'm not so sure. I think it's ridiculous. You could just have a word with him and send them back to the dugout.
I mean, John McGlynn gets very heated here, and it's actually him and Gary Pendry that are arguing the most. You can see the officials discussing it, and the result was Gordon Strachan and John McGlynn being sent up. But you can see the surprise in Gordon's face, and I just think, agree with Paul, a little word in their ear, and they get on with it. And I just do think that the fourth officials overreacted time after time. These guys are passionate. They're passionate about the game, and sometimes they vent it and they go over the top. They vent it the wrong way. It was, these things happen, and it should be dealt with easier than that. And now that Gordon Strachan finds himself up in the stand for the second half, which we know he likes to be in his technical area, we know he likes to be passing on instructions to his players. They can't do that.
As you can see, Craig Burney is here, and Paul Hartley, the Scotland and Hearts midfielder, is with us as well. Light injured at the moment, and I suppose it says something about the quality of the first half that we're talking about a little dust-up, a minor altercation in the technical area.
Yeah, it's been a poor first half performance, but I think we've probably just shaded it with a couple of chances for Roman Bednar, but I think if we just try to up the tempo a bit more, then we've got a real chance of winning the game. But you see, the games never really get started.
A first half, a few opportunities really. Roman Bednar has had a couple for Hearts. There's a glancing header from a decent delivery in from a deep area, just wide.
Yeah, I mean, it's a decent chance and skidding off the surface, but I mean, there's not been enough decent quality in the final third. We spoke about the Hearts midfield. The central midfield is going to be a problem going forward. They have to get delivery from wide positions. They've not really been getting that, although they've been probably doing a bit more than Celtic, but neither side have done enough. I mean, it's been a 45 minutes to forget, I have to say. And with last year's champions, last year's second place team, what's on show out there today, I think we've got to expect a wee bit better quality than that.
In the context of that first half, this was certainly another little chance for Bednar, pulling away out of the 6-yard box. Always difficult to keep those down, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it just comes off his marker there, and it's hit his shoulder.
Yeah.
I mean, should have a free header there, and just mistimed it.
It's half a chance, isn't it? I mean, at this level, talking about both sides will be playing. Well, Hearts will be playing Champions League qualifiers this week. Celtic will be playing Champions League. Well, that's a chance. At this level, that is a chance, and I think both sides, have to do better in the second half. There's a lot more talent out in that pitch than what we've seen in the first 45 minutes.
And it says something about the Celtic performance so far as well. It took them 42 minutes to muster a shot on target, and it was hardly likely to beat the Scotland goalkeeper. It was Kenny Miller, the Scotland striker.
It's good build-up from Celtic. Telfer plays a quick pass into Kenny, he's dummied it. He's not going to beat Craig Gordon for there. I mean, it would have to be a terrific strike. Dummy from McGeady, and Kenny Miller hits it first time, but Craig saves him all the time.
There's not even been any real... I mean, we've seen that little spat on the sideline, but there's not been any real fierce challenges in there, and things like that. I mean, the game really hasn't got going. There's a good atmosphere when the game started in here, but then even the crowd went flat, and I think, I'm a bit disappointed with the game so far, and I mean, it's 0-0. Let's hope both teams come out and have a real go in the second half.
We've found ourselves talking about that little spat in the technical area, and we've also been talking about the watering of the pitch, which went on fairly feverishly, not quite this quickly, maybe pre-match, but you get the feeling it was overdone because the ball's been sticking on the turf.
I think it was Neil McCann who tried to play a pass and the ball got stuck. I think it just watered it too much.
There's a ball.
I mean, I commented, when we first came in here, I was out on the pitch, and the pitch was in fantastic condition. Now, why they watered it for that amount of time? Bearing in mind there was a little drizzle of rain before the game as well. Now, does somebody try and make a back pass and there's too much water in the centre of the pitch, it can cause a goal. I mean, it's out in a wide position, but that can cause a goal. And there's just far too much water. I mean, they're out there now trying to get rid of the water, but there wasn't any real damage to either side. But I mean, why waste it? I mean,
you don't want a game like this to be a lottery. either, which is what it could become when you see incidents like that.
Yeah, I think it's just made a mistake. They've just overwatered it. You see that, as Craig said, if somebody tries to play a ball back to the goalkeeper and it gets cut out, and maybe one of our players or one of the Celtic players runs in and scores, you're going to have a go.
The good thing is for the groundsman is that had it cost Hearts a goal, that Vladimir Romanov's quite a forgiving guy. So I don't think it about. I tell you what, if that had cost Hearts a goal, it was P45 for that groundsman.
He could have had as much as seconds in the job.
Yeah, it's just silly. Just put a bit of water on the top, just for the ball to skim across it. He's absolutely soaked it, and now they're out there on the pitch digging it up now, trying to get rid of it.
There's a lot at stake here today, and it's showing so far. And I think we can safely assume that the second half will be better than the first. It's still really to come alive here. And if it does in the second half, you'll see it live on Setanta Sports. Hope I'm not tempting fate here, but it's nearly 17 years since there was a goalless draw between Hearts and Celtic at Tynecastle. That was Boxing Day 1989, but it's goalless so far halfway through. This man might be able to do something about it had he been fit enough to play. Should be okay. We're here midweek for the European tie, but Garis Jankeskis misses out today, and Hearts are missing something, I think, up front. I wonder if Callum Elliott will feature before too much longer, because we've seen little of Michael Pospisil. It's been Roman Bednar who's been on the end of any chances that were coming anyone's way. There have been few of them. Wonder if there's a seat for him up there somewhere. I'm sure he'll find one beside Peter Lawwell. Gordon Strachan, the Celtic manager, ordered out of the technical area during the first half. He won't be having a seat beside John McGlynn, I wouldn't have thought, because those two were still at it, heading down the tunnel, having an argument. Gary Pendry was involved as well, but he has survived in that technical area, and it's Strachan there, McGlynn there, and Paul Le Guen is up in the director's box as well, on the back of a draw with Dundee United at Ibrox yesterday, which angered him. Dundee United, though, were 2 goals up after sloppy Rangers defending and missed chances as well. 2-2 it finished at Ibrox. 0-0 so far. Paul Hartley with me in the studio, Craig Burley as well. Will we see changes from Valdas Ivanauskas?
Yeah, I think if it's still the same after 10-15 minutes, then I think there's a possibility that he might bring Callum Elliott on and David Cisnowski just to try and give it a wee bit of a spark for us.
What about Celtic, Craig? They don't look like winning the game at the moment.
Look at both sides. I mean, Hearts are building this side for the Champions League and blah, blah, blah. You look at the bench and who's going to come on and really improve it. From Celtic's point of view, they've got the players in the pitch to do it. I mean, they've got the players. They showed that last week. Their passing hasn't been as effective as last week. They haven't got the front two into the game at all. Their movement was great against Kilmarnock last weekend, but Zaravsky and Miller haven't really had any service. We haven't really seen Nakamura making things tick, as we know. We haven't seen Jarosik really getting forward. Petrov took a knock in the first half, so I mean, it's a phrase used far too much. The game needs a goal, but my goodness, this game does need a goal. It does need something to spark it into life.
Well, depleted resources in the technical area. Both teams are one man down, with Strachan and McGlynn up in the stand. Valdas Ivanauskas is still there, and Gary Pendry will be carrying out the instructions on the opposite side. Still 22 on the pitch, though. What can they come up with in this second half? Hopefully better than the first. Back to Scott, back to Ian.
Well, amazingly, Hearts went through the whole of last season without conceding a first-half goal in the SPL at home. They have at least maintained that record so far this season. Tom McGlynn taking his seat upstairs then. Walter Strachan also in the director's box now. But there hasn't really been a proper good chance in the game, which hasn't lived up to the billing yet, but no two halves are the same. Maybe both are saving themselves for this second half.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Ian, how long it's going to take for Hearts to change things about. I think the guys in the studio got it right. I think Callum Elliott will come back into things.
Nakamura. Zaravsky. Here's McGeady. McGeady in again. Away by Presley. Brilliant. And Jarosik is going to get a yellow card for that tuck.
Well, that matches them up because Brelli has also got a yellow card from earlier in the game. Just a slight tug, but I think Brelli goes down a little bit too easily there. But I think that it's going to be interesting because for Celtic, they really have no recognised striker on the bench if Strachan wants to change things, so he hasn't got too many options in that department.
Well, he's in touch with Gary Pendry on the bench. He's sitting just a couple of rows behind John McGlynn now, as we saw. There's Tommy Burns, in fact, is on the other end. Aguiar. He's run into Petrov. Rescued by Brellier. Now McCann. Bednar's gone outside of him. Here he is. Romain Bednar. Julien Brellier. Hearts won the Scottish Cup and finished runners-up last season. George Burley and Graham Riggs did their bit. Aldous Ivanauskas topped it all off.
I think Aguiar just ran out of ideas there, but I'm sure that Ivanauskas will be looking to Neil McCann to have a little bit more influence in this game. With Paul Hartley being out, it's important that other players do take the responsibility on to create things.
Telfer has stepped in front of McCann, but Aguiar looking to set something up for Hearts. Bednar! Romain Bednar so close to the game's opening goal.
Well, at last, Aguiar does get clear of his marker and sends a great ball in. Good timing of the run from Bednar, and he's very disappointed. Has a kick out at the post because he knows that's a real chance. The first good chance for Hearts in the game, and really at this point in time it should be 1-0 Hearts.
Well, he scored in the first two games of the season, the first leg against Siroki Brigag and also at Dunfermline last week. Should have had one there this week. Still might. Bednar bearing down on goal, the angle's acute, but he scores anyway. Romain Bednar, and Hearts are ahead in this early season showdown at Tynecastle.
Well, he has looked the most dangerous player out on this field. He's come close 2 or 3 times today, and this time, look at the timing of the run. He's never offside, and then he drives in at Boric. Lots of composure shown with his left foot. He could have tried to take on to his right side, but no, very confident at taking with his left side. And that's a great strike into the back corner of the net. And leaves no chance for Boric. Nice and low, in off the post. 1-0 Hearts.
3 goals in 4 games for Romain Bednar this season. Should have scored with that header, but it didn't take him long to make amends. And the Jambos are ahead against the champions.
He's been the player that's shown real desire in this game to get forward and to get on the end of things, and that's what you get.
Wilson's cross, away by Berra, then by Aguiar, and Mark Wilson is going to be summoned here to Stuart Dougal. He's going to get a yellow card. I don't think he'll complain too much about that.
Yeah, I think Wilson will accept the yellow card for this. It's what you call a good foul in that. If Mikulionis gets the ball between his legs there and carries on, Celtic under even more pressure.
Well, the second half has certainly proved to be lively. After first half in which Gordon Strachan and John McGlynn grabbed the headlines, really, for being ordered out of the dugout.
What does Gordon Strachan do? Does he?
Well, he might be all right here because Stilian Petrov has snatched it away from Hearts, and here's Zurawski, and Lee Wallace got back to intervene.
He did there what Bednar didn't do. He tried to check inside. It was one touch too many. You don't get many chances against the Hearts defence. It's very, very secure. You've got to put that down as a good goal-scoring opportunity.
Pospisil. Jarosik makes the challenge. Goal kick.
I was going to say, and what does Gordon Strachan do? Because does he bring in Lennon? Does he bring him back into the game? I don't think so. He's looking more to try and get some more pressure higher up the field. Maybe it's a chance to bring Riordan into things on the left-hand side. McGeady's gone that little bit quiet. And maybe Gordon Strachan will have to freshen things up in the next 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, Hearts had a long trip themselves in midweek to Bosnia. Huge kick there, and Bednar's in the hunt again. The trip to Bosnia gruelling for Hearts, whereas not many of these Celtic players made the journey to Japan. That's Nakamura and McGeady.
But it was a long trip with a good outcome. Sets them up nicely for Athens in midweek. But I think that at the moment, so early in the season, I don't think it's too much of a problem to have players travelling halfway around the world.
Bednar's going to show interest in that, and McManus just pipped him to it, but here's McCann. Well, Celtic have won on 11 of their last 14 visits here to Tynecastle. Hearts are going to have to fare better against the old firm to maintain a serious title challenge this season. They are believers.
But Celtic have come back here before. New Year's Day game was a perfect example of that. They won't give up. They'll keep plugging away and try and break down that very, very strong Hearts defence.
Zurawski trying to find Miller. Zurawski again. Stephen Presley keeps him occupied. Kenny Miller's taken a knock, and Stilian Petrov lunges in. Kenny Miller's not looking too comfortable. Had that niggly hamstring that meant he didn't play in Japan.
I think the goal came from Gary Caldwell's area of the park on Bednar. It was a good run from Bednar, but it's something you would feel that Caldwell should be able to handle, and he has come under some sort of criticism since the start of the season for his defensive lapses. Be interesting to see what the guys in the studio make after the game of that one.
Many Hearts scarf being waved around Tynecastle at the moment. It may be early season, but a victory over Celtic, over the champions, would be colossal. Long way to go yet, mind you, and Celtic were 2-0 down here on New Year's Day and still won. Caldwell dealing with Pospisil. Wallace has got the better of Nakamura. Pospisil, Wallace again. Bednar. Mikalunas. His touch allowed Nakamura to steal in for Celtic. And here's Aidan McGeady. McGeady taking on Hearts. A powerful surge, but Mark Wilson's cross, miserable.
Yeah, it was much better from Aidan McGeady, dropping that bit deeper, trying to get involved in the game. He did that also in midweek against Yokohama. He did drop deep, likes to be involved in the game, and it's good. Such a young player does take the responsibility on. Not one of Mark Wilson's better crosses.
Bobby Nilsson, who came on in the first half for the injured Ibrahim Tal. The news not good on him. Knee and ankle damage. Apart from that, it is good news for Hearts at the moment. Free kick for Brelier as he collided with Yarashik. Neil Lennon, the skipper, warming up for Celtic. Neil McCann ready to deliver, or maybe even ready to have a go. McCann does float it in. It's McManus who steered it away, and Brelier with a real test for Boris.
What a great effort this is from Brelier. Close to his weaker foot. It's coming down a long way. Great technique, gets his head over the ball, and a fantastic save from Boric.
Well, this match has certainly taken off in the second half after a largely forgettable first 45 minutes. It's been pretty much non-stop since the whistle went.
It's maybe no coincidence, though, that with Hearts being such a defensively strong team, that it's been very difficult today for Petrov and for Jarosic to get good possession of the ball.
Maybe Nelson dug that one out, but here is Jarosic. McGeady feeding on the scraps. Turned away by Lee Wallace, but Saraski will get to it. Telfer doesn't hang around. Wilson being chased by Pospisil.
I'm just wondering if Petrov is still struggling that little bit from the knock he took in the first half. Just wondering if he will be the man that will be changed.
Yeah, grimacing at the moment, Petrov.
He's not quite managed to get going in this game today. Certainly not anywhere near the difference they made last week against Kilmarnock, with Jarosic and Petrov making different runs, causing problems in the Kilmarnock midfield. Not quite the same today, with Brelier and Aguiar at the back.
Well, there's been speculation about Petrov's future, and Stephen Pearson behind Tommy Burns there, continually linked with a move to join Billy Davis, his former world manager, at Derby. Aguiar. Pospisil closing down Wilson. He's got Mikalunas nearby, and also Aguiar. It's away by McManus.
Yeah, it's a great ball in from Aguiar. For being physical midfield players, both Brelier and Aguiar do have a good touch. They're not frightened to play balls like that in.
Nilsson's long throw.
Hearts looking fairly comfortable at the moment, and I'm just going to wonder how long it will take before Gordon does make the change for Celtic. Certainly before they lose a second goal.
Well, that doesn't bear thinking of for Celtic fans, I'm sure. Going two down here. McCann unable to feed Bednar. Looks like Chesnauskis will be on very, very soon. Normally swaps over with Mikalunas. Here is Aguiar. Here it's Neil McCann who's going to come off. Wallace. Neil McCann finally getting to play at Tynecastle in his second spell at Hearts. Injured on his return to the club back in January. Nielsen. Hearts gathers and feeds McGeady, and he'll be on his way quite sharpish. Yarashik. Zarowski. Yarashik again. Closely watched by Brellier. And Brellier's won it back fair and square, and this could be ominous for Celtic. Pospisil and Bednar ahead, offside. Flags up, not going to count for Roman Bednar.
Oh, I don't know about that one, Ian. Can't wait to see that one again. Oh, he's definitely not offside. It always looked onside to me. Another great run from Bednar. Fantastic finish too.
What a let-off for Celtic. And Neil McCann is leaving us to be replaced by the Lithuanian Davidas Česnauskas. So there'll be a Lithuanian on either side, either flank now for Hearts.
Yeah, McCann won't be too disappointed at getting taken off. He's just coming back from a long-term injury. If he gets all 3 points, I'm sure he'll be pretty happy. That just shows you the negative side of playing Yarasic and Petrov in midfield. Yarasic losing the ball there. Straight away a counter-attack. It was 3 for 3 at the back with Celtic. And Bednar should have had 2.
Well, if Celtic get something out of this game, there will be plenty said about that decision. Bednar clearly onside, but not in the view of the assistant referee, Gary Cheng. Huge decision that. Still only 1-0 to Hearts. Mark Wilson. Petrov has lost it.
Yeah, maybe that's the worry for Gordon Strachan in the midfield, and that's why Neil Lennon is coming back into it. Far too much times now, and far too many times now in midfield have Yarasic and Petrov given away possession.
Česnauskas has earned Hearts a corner. Neil Lennon is going to be coming on for Kenny Miller, the word is from the bench. But there's a corner for Celtic to defend first. Hearts are hungry. Should have been allowed a second goal. We'll have another try at getting it anyway. Aguiar's cross. No mistake. Česnauskas could see Celtic break out. Nakamura for Miller. Now McGeady. And it's inside towards Petrov! What a finish! What a finish from Stilian Petrov! And the move was magnificent too. How costly it proved for Hearts, but the champions level it up just like that.
That is an absolutely incredible goal. Fantastic goal. Classic counter-attack. Look how many Celtic men are going forward. All with real desire to get in the box. It's Petrov who gets on the end of it, and that is a finish from the top drawer. Absolutely brilliant. McGeady chooses his time right, and that's first time with the left foot. Absolutely no chance for Craig Gordon, and that's Celtic right back in the game.
Oh, I bet there were a few Celtic fans grumbling about Petrov's performance today as well, but his last 6 goals against Hearts have all come here at Tynecastle, and now that decision that went against Roman Bednar looks an even bigger call from the assistant referee, and Lennon's substitution is back on hold.
The best when a substitution can go wrong, Ian. Česnauskas coming on the park, giving the ball away, one of his first touches.
Here's Mikalunas though. Aguiar. Well, after that Hearts corner, it took Celtic just 17 seconds to speed up the other end and score a cracker.
It's going to be interesting to see what Gordon Strachan does. Does he push Petrov up alongside Zarowski, or does he take McGeady in from the left-hand side. I think after that finish, I know what I would do.
Well, substitution back on. Kenny Miller. It's a quiet afternoon back in Edinburgh, where his career began with Hibs. He's going off, Miller, and Neil Lennon, the captain, comes on.
Yeah, we can see that Petrov is going to push up, I think, next to Zaraski. Neil Lennon will go into his normal position. It's not too bad, although they didn't have anyone on the bench to take on as a striker. Petrov's not too bad up there, is he?
Petrov. Quarter of the game to go. It's been a captivating second half after a forgettable first half. Hearts paying big time for Česnauskis giving it away just after Ivanauskis had thrown him on. Here's Petrov again. Nakamura, who's going to have support from Telfer. Now Telfer gets it from McManus.
Suddenly they're in. Celtic look eager again, springing their step. I think you'll see Petrov just sitting off Zaraski at times, just trying to cause a problem for Berra and Presley at the centre of the Hearts defence.
The top two from last season in the SPL, locked together at 1-1 at Tynecastle.
Isn't that interesting how that things can happen in football? Could have been 2-0 for Hearts. Bednar getting a goal chalked off that was definitely onside. A few minutes later, Celtic go up the park and even things up.
You suspect Valdis Ivanauskis will have a bit to say about that decision. Card here for Gary Caldwell. Winning a few Edinburgh derbies in his time. He's going to be the... oh, he's being let off a card, just given a warning. Aguiar pings it in. Everyone left it. Just over 20 minutes remaining. Coming up to the time where you can vote for your man of the match on those numbers. And if your choice agrees with Scott Booth's and you're picked out, you will win a signed shirt of the named player, Roman Bednar and Stilian Petrov, the goal scorers. He's going to be the man of the match.
Just shows it just said that Petrov had gone quiet in the game, and then bang.
Petrov. Oh, it's deflected, but Craig Gordon's behind it.
Looks like Stephen Presley took a sore one there as well. Just a slight deflection. Any more though and it could have been a big problem for Craig Gordon.
Well, they'll be hoping Stephen Presley's okay ahead of that clash with AK Evans, having already lost Ibrahim Tal to what looks like a serious injury today. How about this though, for a massive decision? A wrong decision.
That's exactly what strikers are working on. Day in, day out in training, they're working on the timing of that run across the face of a defender. And then he gets given offside.
And then Petrov smashes in an equaliser.
And that is just sheer quality. With his left foot, not even thinking about it, completely instinctive.
Substitution for Celtic after 70 minutes leaving the field.
Stephen Pearson is going to take the place of Shunsuke Nakamura.
Stephen Pearson.
He's had a busy week, of course. Went back to his homeland to play his former club, Yokohama.
That's certainly going to offer Celtic more drive in the wider areas. Likes to get on the end of things as well, Pearson.
Well, it was Pearson who sparked that Celtic recovery here on New Year's Day last season, with the first of their 3 goals. Billy Davies keen to take him to Derby, but he remains at Celtic for the time being. On the fringe of things, normally, but not for the next 18-19 minutes.
It's one of these now, though, Ian. Do the teams do they settle for a point, a share of the spoils, or do they try to go out and take all 3?
Stephen Presley's back on. Hearts and Celtic face the current top 2 next week. Celtic home to St Mirren, Hearts meet Falkirk. The second half has certainly been intriguing. What's going to happen next?
As we can see already, in Neil Lennon getting on the ball very easily. It's very difficult for Aguiar to get himself out of his defensive midfield position and get right up close to Neil Lennon, so he should be on the ball quite a lot over the next 20 minutes.
Telfer on by Yarashik, and Presley guiding it back to Gordon. The French League continues on Setanta Sports 1 at 4:30 with Sedan against Marseille. And Gretna hit Europe on Thursday night, 7:30 from Fir Park. Setanta Sports 1, it's their qualifier against Derry City. Mikalunas. Česnauskis. Mikalunas. The Lithuanians combine. What a cross! And Boris got an important touch, with Bednar coming in and Pospisil lurking too.
Yeah, it was great play on the right-hand side between the Lithuanians. Fantastic ball in. Gave Boris a real problem. Just see cuts to the side. Nice little pass with the outside of the right foot. First time cross. A good hand from Boric.
Petrov now for McGeady. Still a bundle of energy and he's kept that in. Lee Wallace has sorted him out. And that'll be I thought he was going to blow for the free kick shoot Dougal, but he let it go. Lennon now for Yarashik. Brilliant. Mikalunas started to make a run then on the other side. Oh, it's gone between Česnauskis and Bednar.
Maybe the wrong decision that time. Mikalunas did make a run. I think Mark Wilson did well by tucking in on the left-hand side.
Pearson. Yarashik. Pearson again. Petrov. Wide this time from Stilian Petrov.
Suddenly Petrov looks really hungry in this game, and that's what Pearson gives you, driving forward. Good vision to see Petrov. Takes it onto his left foot, he's not scared to go either left or right.
McGeady. He's got a free kick off Aguiar. Pearson is Yarashik. Oh, it's Christoph Berra who nipped across to period.
And that could have been a real chance if either Zarowski or Petrov had decided they wanted the ball, left it for each other. Already this left-hand side for Celtic looking more dangerous with Pearson on the pitch.
Wilson. Here is Pearson. Neil Lennon's kicked that in, but only just. Yarashit. Zarowski. Petrov. No foul. Aguiar made the challenge.
That was good play by Zarowski. He's looking for the 1-2 off Petrov there. Doesn't quite get it. He made the right run.
Pospisil was closely shadowed by Gary Caldwell, and Celtic get a throw, and Pospisil kicks it away in frustration. Lennon was left grounded then by Bednar. Telfer has to go back to Caldwell. Wilson. Petrov for Yarashit. Mikalunas. Pospisil. Tense times at Tynecastle.
Pospisil has worked his socks off today, and I just wonder though if he may be the man that will come off and allow some fresh legs up front.
Wallace is advancing. It's actually gone Celtic's way. Celtic with a lot of the ball in the last quarter of an hour. And an equaliser as well from Petrov. Here's Brellier though. Plenty of power, not quite matched by the precision.
Yeah, but it was good play by Brellier, and Aguiar. We nutmeg, tries to go for the first time shot.
Henry Pendry and Tommy Burns alone on the in the technical area now, with Gordon Strachan sent upstairs in the first half along with John McGlynn after a bit of a spat that was actually the highlight of the first half, but there's been a few more highlights in the second half, that's for sure. Needed a few rows between them. Wallace. Powered away by McManus, it comes to Vera.
In the early part of the second half, it looked like Hearts had got to grips with things. Celtic have come back into it now, and it's fairly even at the moment.
Aguiar setting up Mikalunas. McManus hoisting that one out. Inside the last 10 minutes of a crucial game so early in the season. Mikalunas. Boris right behind that. McGeady. He's lost it to Aguiar. And now he's tripped him. first meeting between these teams last season ended 1-1. That was at Celtic Park. Stopped Hearts' winning streak at the time. Mikalunas. Wilson stuck with him. Hearts throw. Robbie Nilsson in towards Bednar. Jarosik was keeping him in check. Julian Brellier bounced off Gary Colburn. Hearts going to bring on their Finnish striker, Juho Mäkelä. Lennon holding off Mikalunas. Mikael Pospisil is going to be replaced then, and on comes Mäkelä. He had a terrific goal-scoring record with HJK Helsinki. Hasn't really got his Hearts career going yet, but might do one day soon.
Yeah, it's like for like. Mäkelä, quite similar to Pospisil, maybe a little bit more pace than Pospisil has. And certainly at this point in the game, fresh legs up front for Hearts is certainly needed.
Česnauskis. Mäkelä would have been offside anyway had that threatened a goal. So, vote for your man of the match now by ringing the appropriate number, whether you're in the UK or the Republic of Ireland. And if your choice matches Scott Boo's pick, and you are picked out, you get a signed shirt from the man of the match. Going to be a gripping finale. Manus won that. Here's Aguiar.
It's been a strange game for Craig Gordon in goal for Hearts. Ian, he's not really had to do anything in the game apart from pick the ball out of his net.
Wallace's throw towards Mäkelä. Jarosik came off worse there. Celtic had a throw. Craig Brewster's Dundee United picked up a surprise point at Ibrox yesterday and might have had more. 2-0 up. Le Guen's men saved the day with an OG.
I think if things stay this way, it will be Gordon Strachan who's the happier of the two managers. Certainly when you take into account most of the pressure has come from Hearts, or certainly the chances.
Nielsen is picked out. Bednar, Mäkelä! Gary Colburn in the way, not that it had too much power anyway from Mäkelä. Here's Mikalunas. Česnauskis. And it sticks with Boris. Pearson shut off by Brellier.
Levenauskis was again irate on the side there because he knows they've had chances in this game, they've had the pressure. The final ball at times let them down, and here we go again. Initially good play, but just a little bit of composure would have been a little bit better to have gone right to the byline and cut the ball back, maybe lifted his head. Easy in the end for Boric.
Fairly aimless from Boris, who offered a quick apology, and no wonder. McGeady. Petrov bounced off Berra. Rescued by Telfer. Cut out by Lennon. Important intervention. Done by Caldwell. And Lennon's pass. And Bednar's going to get in. Neil Lennon's error. And Roman Bednar may well have won the game for Hearts. A crucial goal in a vital game. But Neil Lennon hangs his head.
First and foremost, it's a fantastic finish from Bednar. He really has shown desire the whole game, but again, Lennon just doesn't catch it right. Bednar quickly onto it. He's still got a lot to do, it's on his left foot. But just look at the composure shown. Takes a little look up, side foots it into the back of the net. Could have been his hat-trick.
Well, Hearts will feel that justice has been done after that goal that was ruled out for Bednar. Neil Lennon, who's done so much for Celtic, has to take the blame for that one. A late goal. Not much time for Celtic to recover from that.
Neil Lennon's so reliable for Celtic over the years. Been a fantastic player for them. But sometimes these things happen. You have to give credit to Bednar. He was watching for it, he was looking for it. He picked the ball up, and from then on, there was only one outcome today.
Well, the second half has been everything the first half wasn't, but Gordon Strachan can't really account for a mistake like that from his captain. Heading towards the last minute of normal time. Neil Lennon needs someone to bail him out. And Roman Bednar has 4 goals already this season.
Yeah, it's a great start for him. And he has looked the most dangerous player today. Certainly deserves his 2 goals. As I say, it could have been a hat-trick.
Celtic have to come back again, but they haven't got much time left. McManus launching it. Petrov the furthest man forward. Telfer getting ready to take this throw. Can Celtic save the day at Tynecastle? Stephen McManus scored 2 late goals here on New Year's Day. Telfer's long throw. Oh, it nearly dropped for Lennon. Now that could have been some story. And Lennon bumped on his backside by Chesnauskis' challenge. It's going to be
good work rate shown by Chesnauskis, get himself back in there at an important time.
There's going to be 3 minutes added on. Celtic could have done with a little bit more unless they can find a way to goal here. Telfer's cross easily cleared by Stephen Presley. Chesnauskis has taken it off Telfer. Bednar. Scorer of 2, denied 1, unable to turn provider for Michaela. But Hearts are nearly there, and it shows. Bednar giving the fans the thumbs up. Denied a hat-trick by that offside shout, but he'll happily settle for a double if it results in a result for Hearts. EK Athens next up for Hearts. Can they see it out against Celtic? McGeady, Pearson. Presley determined to get to it, so much so he probably would have taken out his own man bearer. Lennon has spun away from Brelier. Here's Petrov, on quickly, gets it back from Ziraski. Petrov, held up by Mikalunas. And Mikalunas able to clear, and Hearts are a minute away from a telling victory over the champions. Seconds tick agonisingly away for Celtic. Caldwell. Oh, Brelier just about hung in there. Here's Aguiar. If they keep the ball now, it should be a victory. It's a free kick anyway. And it's been a wretched few minutes for Neil Lennon on as a sub.
I think both Aguiar and Brelier have done well in there today. Not just trying to do a job in defence by protecting their defence, they've also tried to get themselves forward at times.
Stuart Dougal has had a look at his watch. Aguiar now. He's gone for it! Underside of the bar, Michaela. Nearly an absolute stunner, but it's over anyway. Hearts have beaten Celtic. A victory of great importance and huge significance, even though it comes so early in the season. They were a goal to the good through Roman Bednar. Got caught when they gave the ball away, and Petrov smashed in an equaliser. But Bednar latched onto an error from Neil Lennon of all people to win the game for Hearts, and he should have had a hat-trick really. An offside goal wrongly ruled out, and a big win in a big game for Valdas Ivanauskas and Hearts.
Yeah, Hearts definitely deserve the victory today. They were a team that showed that bit more desire. They had the chances. It looked like early on they might not get the goal. They did get the goal through Bednar. He should have had 3 today, but fantastic finishing from him, and it's sweet revenge for the Hearts players and the Hearts fans after the New Year's Day clash of last season.
Well, Hearts, if they are to mount a serious title challenge, know they've got to get more out of their matches against the Old Firm. They've certainly started in the right vein. It may have taken a mistake from Neil Lennon to hand them 3 points, but few would deny that this was a worthy victory for Hearts.
Certainly Bednar at the moment, top man. It's a great run across the defender. Just keeps his head down, picks out the back corner, no chance for Boric. And Ivanauskas absolutely delighted. That was the first and a sheer moment of brilliance from Stilian Petrov. Gordon Strachan can't believe the finish. It brought Celtic right back in the game. Lennon, too weak on the pass, didn't look up, didn't lift his head, but Bednar did. Strokes the ball into the empty net, and again Ivanauskas absolutely delighted. Bednar could have had his hat-trick, but they get all 3 points instead.
Remember New Year's Day, payback time. Hearts have beaten the champions 2-1.
Never a dull day at Tynecastle, despite what you may have seen in a disappointing first half, in which the highlights took place off the pitch. Gordon Strachan was snarling. John McGlynn wasn't too happy either, toe-to-toe with Gary Pendry. Strachan ordered out of the technical area as the first half came to a close, and McGlynn joined him in the director's box. Things opened up on the pitch in the second half, and Roman Bednar played in, finishing expertly for 1-0 Hearts. That pleased Valdas. This didn't. Officialdom getting it badly wrong. Bednar was very much onside, and that should have been 2-0 Hearts, but it wasn't. Given offside, and our pictures clearly showed he was on. Hearts on the attack, and very quickly, Celtic outfield a flowing counter move this, and what a finish from Stilian Petrov. And that was 1-1, and Hearts feeling sore. They felt they should have been 2 up Gordon Strachan, delighted to be back on level terms from his director's box viewpoint. A blunder from Neil Lennon, left out of the starting lineup, and his major contribution was to set up Roman Bednar for his second goal of the game. It could have been a hat-trick, but that was enough to give Hearts a momentous victory at Tynecastle, and Neil Lennon's expression tells all at the end. What a contrast. Let's hear from the man of the match now. Not surprisingly, Roman Bednar scored 2, should have been 3. He's with the Hearts captain, Stephen Presley, both talking to Stuart Lovell.
Roman, a difficult match for you today. You must be pleased with the win.
Oh, of course, you know, before game we wanted 3 points and we did hard work, you know, and everybody, and we scored 2 goals and Celtic won and we win. I think we deserve it today.
All of Hearts' chances seemed to fall to you. Were you disappointed not to score more than 2 goals?
Of course, you know, I can help earlier, you know, if I score, you know, maybe a little bit better game for us, not so difficult like this, but, you know, some chances don't score, some score, you know. I'm happy it's finished like this.
And just after you scored your first goal, you had a goal disallowed for offside, which was onside. Did you think you were onside? Are you disappointed that that goal was called out?
Oh, I don't know, it was very fast, you know, but I speak with Julian because he, I think, give pass and he said never offside.
Well, Stephen, what message does this send out to other teams in the league?
It sends out a big message, you know. I think we've started the season in great form, you know. We've progressed in the Champions League and won our first 2 league games, so we're very satisfied with that.
And on to AEK Athens on Wednesday. Is that a tie that you can win?
Absolutely. There's no doubt that they're the favourites at this moment in time, but we have a great belief in our camp at this time, and we feel that with the right 2 performances we can progress.
Well played today, guys. Roman is our Bank of Scotland man of the match. Stephen, if you could do the honours.
Well done, Roman. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well played, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not much doubt in the end about the Man of the Match award. Roman Bednar thoroughly deserving of it. Good performance from him, what a promising player. And Paul Muir from Glasgow picked him out, as well as Scott Booth. And Paul's our competition winner. A signed Bednar shirt will be heading your way. So that's a big boost for Hearts heading into Europe in midweek, looking to get into the group stages of the Champions League if they can get rid of AEK Athens. That's a big ask for them, but then so was today. And having been pegged back by Celtic, it says much for the strength of spirit here at Tynecastle that Hearts came through in the end. 6 points out of 6 at the start of this SPL campaign. The champions losing out here at Tynecastle. With me in the studio, Craig Burley and Hearts and Scotland midfielder Paul Hartley, who can barely wipe that smile off his face.
Yeah, fantastic performance. Second half performance. First half wasn't too great, but I mean, I thought we deserved the victory. 2 great goals for Roman. Not easy finishes, but I mean, I thought we deserved the 3 points today.
And there's a feeling, I think, Craig, of justice at the end, because Hearts should have been 2-0 up, and maybe at that stage, had it been given, it would have been game over.
Well, the second half was, I mean, the first half was poor. The second half was a lot better. We said the game needed a goal. They got one in 49 minutes, Hearts, and the game progressed from there. I mean, it to and fro. Both sides had their chances in the games. Both sides had a period where they had their possession. But I think if you look at it in chances alone, Hearts carved out the best chances, the most chances, and Bednar could have had a hat-trick today, but it was a fantastic performance from him.
And how significant is that, Paul? It's the second weekend in. We're not going to jump to too many conclusions, but psychologically that's a big one for Hearts.
It's a big test coming up against the champions, so I mean, it's a great start to the season for us. 6 points for 2 games, so you know, the confidence is there.
Celtic sluggish, Craig, disappointing performance from them?
Well, in context of how they played last week against Kilmarnock as an attacking force, I think you have to say yes. I mean, Petrov scored a wonderful goal.
They had their moments
a bit later, but they didn't really carve Hearts open that often, and maybe that's credit to Hearts because they've been really strong at the back. Hearts, and you know, Celtic just didn't get going today, and they're always going to have problems at the back. I don't think they're the strongest at the back. Hearts exploited that at times, as I say, created more chances and deserved the 3 points.
Let's hear live from the winning manager, Valdas Ivanauskas, with Stuart.
Valdas, a very strong performance from Hearts today. You must be delighted with the win.
Yes, I am very happy with performance. So we play very well. We don't have chances for the Celtic. So just counter attack. Okay, it's a great goal for Petrov, but I think as when we need this game, and I think it's for us.
Do you think it was a fair result today?
I think yes. We have a lot of chances, and I think from performance for the game, I think it's for us win is yes.
Just after Roman Bednar scored the first goal, he had a goal disallowed for offside, which was a goal. Do you think that affected your players?
I think no, you know, it's just, if it was not offside, okay, it's just maybe a mistake for ref, but I think it's for ref was no easy situation. So and for us, it's very important for Roman. You know, he scored second goal, but it's very important. He play after second goal for him it wasn't easy, but okay, it's win is very important.
And you play AEK Athens on Wednesday. Will you make changes to the team for that match?
Okay, we need waiting just for the game. So and 3 days. As we need looking for our injuries for the
for the match.
For the match, yeah. So and okay, Athens is very important for the club, for the players game. But okay, it's just 3 days we have for next game.
Valdas, well done today.
Thank you very much. Sorry.
Yes, I think there are distinct signs there that he is beginning to master the language, and he was very animated, wasn't he, in the technical area?
Yeah, he does. He's very passionate about the game. He's so delighted we won the game today, but as you say, he shows his emotions on the touchline.
But that's the most animated I've seen him. And I was quite interested to hear him. I didn't understand everything he said.
Did you understand that one word towards the end?
Yeah, started with an S. But I did understand one thing when he said refs make mistakes, and we don't think he'd have been saying that had Bednar not scored the winner. When Bednar's goal was chopped off, we'll see that a bit later on, he said, oh, referees make mistakes, but it could have cost Hearts. It didn't, but it was a good second half, and I think he's got to be delighted. Bearing in mind he left out his two main full-backs, his main midfielder's not playing either, and they turn over the champions.
So we've seen him jumping up and down right throughout the match, but surprisingly he was the only one who wasn't involved in this, which was the highlight of the first half, and it wasn't on the pitch. You'll not be surprised to hear it was that fracas in the technical area, which involved Gary Pendry and Gordon Strachan. John McGlynn was there. Valdas was the peacemaker in the end, and the upshot was McGlynn and Strachan up to the director's box.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said at half-time, you know, it's a passionate game, and these guys are getting passionate about things that are going on, and I mean, Gordon Strachan wasn't really involved in it. It was Gary Pendry and John McGlynn, and Strachan and McGlynn were both sent to the stand. Now, I think the officials have got to take a bit of discretion into things here and realise the occasion. It's a big game against the two teams that finished first and second last season. It's early in the season. You know, they're worried about what's going on the pitch. They're showing their emotions. We want to see that. Players want to see it. Fans want to see it. And to send them to the stands is a bit harsh from me, and there's absolutely no need. Take the heat out of the situation, give them a warning, and that's the end of the matter.
What do you reckon sparked it off, Paul?
I think it was instant. I think it was Julian Brellier was on the deck and the referee stopped play. I mean, I think the linesmen are the referee should just go and have a quiet word and just send them back to the dugout instead of sending them to the stand.
We talk about handbags on the pitch. That was handbags off it, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a bit of common sense I think they should have used.
Good sign about Roman Bednar is that he misses chances, but it doesn't put him off going in for the next one. And this was a great opportunity from Aguiar's delivery, good one. Missed the header, Bednar, but he bounces back.
Yeah, well, he had a couple of these in the first half actually, where you know there was some decent crosses in. There was only two in the first half he had, where he got himself in a decent position as he is there. 6 yards out, he kicks the post because he's frustrated. He knows that's a good opportunity. It's a good ball in. And he doesn't get a good contact on it. As I said earlier, he had two of them in the first half where he got himself in very good positions, went to head it, didn't connect, and again there, and but he kept plugging away, he keeps plugging away. He worked hard. I thought his strike partner Pospisil didn't really help him out much, I have to say. I thought he was a bit of a weak link for them, but Bednar's performance, his work rate, he was a nuisance. He got himself into good goal scoring opportunities and good positions, and he got 2 goals.
Although Pospisil did play the pass here for Bednar to net the opening goal, and signs here of a lack of communication about Caldwell and McManus.
Well, Gary Caldwell gets dragged to the ball and Bednar gets in behind him. Stephen McManus is 2-3 yards behind him, you can see here. You know, he gets dragged out to the ball, Gary Caldwell here, there's now a space. Stephen McManus can't play offside, he's too far away, he's too deep. Ball gets played in, and I have to say, from a tight angle against a very good goalkeeper, I mean, that's an excellent finish from Bednar.
Yeah, terrific finish. He's good movement there for the goal. He just spins wide, and it's the only place he can hit it, Craig, and he hits it across the face of the goal. Fantastic finish.
And I just think with, you know, we've spoken about Celtic going forward. I'm sorry, but that back four against better opposition and against the teams like Hearts and against teams in the Champions League, you're going to get chances. I mean, you're going to get chances because they're not top quality defenders. And I think, never mind going forward today where they weren't at their best, at the back's just a constant worry. I think he's got to spend some money there or he's going to have some major problems.
Julian Brellier doesn't hit the target too often with his attempts on goal. He did here a good left foot volley and decent save from Artur Boruc.
I couldn't believe it was Julian that struck that line. He doesn't even do that in training, but when he keeps it down, that's the first thing you're doing. And the goalkeeper's a wee bit lucky, it spills out. There's no one falling in there on the rebound, but a great hit for Julian. I think he had 3 or 4 efforts today. I think that was his for the season.
That's the whole quota for the rest of the season. Now here's the moment which could have cost Hearts dear, and I think the person we have to point the finger at here is Gary Cheen, the assistant referee on this side, and I think we all felt instinctively as the move developed here that this was onside.
Well, it's Jarosik that's dwelling on the ball, he gets caught, Aguilar plays him in, and we'll see from this angle, the linesman gives offside, we'll see from this angle quite clearly he's a yard onside.
That's not a big decision, is it?
Listen, it's a shocking decision. It's an absolutely shocking decision. What we do is we ask the officials to get all the big decisions, try and get them correct. Now, in the context of today's game, it didn't affect it because Bednar goes on and scores another goal. But at that point in the game, you know, we're taking them to 2-0, and it's just a poor decision from the referees. And you know, we mention them all the time, but they continually get it wrong.
Well, there was the wrongful sending off of Takis Fisas on New Year's Day, wasn't there, which might have had an impact on how that game developed, and again Hearts fans were feeling sore there. Yeah,
it could have cost us 3 points today, and it's cost Roman Bednar a hat-trick. He's a mile onside, and I mean, his timing the run's fantastic.
And look at the position of the referee's assistant here, the linesman. I mean, it's a perfect position, absolutely perfect. It's a great run. You know, the run is perfect, the timing of it is perfect, the ball's good. You know, the keeper doesn't know it's offside at this point, so he's committed, and it's a good finish. And you know, we just speak about officials. We don't want to go on about officials all the time, but Rob, they've got to get the big decisions right, and that for me wasn't a difficult one. You know, he was absolutely spot on.
If it's online, it can be a borderline decision, but that was a good yard, wasn't it?
It was a good yard on. It's just incredible he gives that offside there. As Craig said, the time they run, the weight of the pass, and the finish was fantastic.
And the old conspiracy theories will be coming back out from Vladimir Romanov about the refs and that, but I think you pointed it out during the game. It was your word, not mine. It was incompetence, and I agree with you. It is incompetence, and you know, we're not sitting here picking holes in the officials' performances, but games like that can change a season. Decisions like that can change a game, can change a season.
We talk about players not doing their job. That was an official not doing his job.
Yeah. Well, we all make mistakes. Look, get the big ones correct. You know, the vital decisions, the borderline ones, goal-scoring opportunities. You have to get it right, and he didn't. It didn't affect the game, but it might have done.
And of course, here's where the game turned, because Hearts, one moment, had a corner kick up at one end of the pitch, and this was a classic counter-attack from Celtic, and dishing out severe punishment for Hearts having lost the ball upfield.
Yes, our corner kick, and we lose the ball in the middle of the park then, but Celtic break up very quick. Kenny Oliver plays a wee flick there to McGeady, but I mean, fantastic finish for Petrov on his weaker side, but I think he might be a wee bit disappointed. Nobody sort of matching the runner of Petrov there. But it's a great finish.
I mean, it's disappointing from Hearts' point of view that they're taking a corner and Celtic are scoring, but I have to say, in terms of a counter-attack, it's a wonderful counter-attack. Good little touch from Aidan McGeady, who I thought had a good second half come into the game, plays a nice little ball in, and I just thought the finish on the run with the ball in the move as well, I just thought it was a wonderful finish. I didn't think Petrov had one of his better games today, nodded Jarosik in the middle of the park.
I don't know how fit Petrov was, because he was struggling for a while, wasn't he?
He looked as if he was struggling. May have went off at half-time, but he didn't. But I mean, that was just a fantastic finish.
And I wonder how much longer Stilian Petrov will be a Celtic player. That could have been his final flourish, because